If I could fall into the sky, do you think time would pass us by?
'Cause you know I'd walk 1,000 miles so I could just see you. Tony.
Who's getting a room?
If I could just get away from you.
Why are you getting away from me? Come here, what do you
Making
mean?
my way downtown!
What do you mean shit? The song or my singing? Whoa! What do you mean both?
Cry me a river.
Oh, Gary had that on in the van the other day. I was absolutely belting that art in the back. And I need you, doodly doodly doo. And
I fucked you.
What? If I could
fall
into
the sky.
Do you
think time
would
could pass us by?
Oh, 'cause you know I'd walk 1,000
miles so I could just bomb you.
Tonight. Doodly doodly doo.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Got some new intro music, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you liked. Doodly doodly doo.
And I fucked you. And now you're in me.
Tonight, doodle doodle doo.
And I licked you. And tonight's gonna be a long night.
Oh, fuck's sake.
What? What's fuck's sake?
IRL are doing an endurance thing, one a month. September, October. On a Saturday night, Kyle, Army, Watkins, Glen Silverstone, Bathurst. 5 races, 3 hours each. 1 hour 20 minimum stint per driver. 1 hour 20? Minimal. For press on teams, they've both entered with a team of 2.
That's gonna be stuck in your head now.
Yep.
I got Miley Cyrus's "I Can't Be Tamed" stuck in my head.
DJ first text me, he's in the car coming.
Tough shit, mate.
Oh no, he's racing, but he's got 15 minutes, otherwise he's late. Right, I'm just gonna run for a quick toilet break. 2 seconds. We've got time, because we had to reset the lobby. Oh.
That one. Haha.
Sorry, dude. It was fucking crapping my eyes out. Right. 5, 4, 3. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for the late start to the stream, but we are back live here for some of the action in the Pro-Am category. It is Zolder. I'm your host, Matthew Duffy, joined in the commentary box once again, and as always, for the penultimate time this season, by Dan Davis. Dan, very good evening to yourself. It's Zolder. Are we looking forward to this one?
I never look forward to Zolder, but I'm pretty sure everyone else is in the chat on track as well. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting night with racing. We go from one tricky circuit to another, and yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. Matt, obviously yourself has had quite a bit of success around this circuit, but you looking forward to Zolder?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Don't mind Zolder at all. Fantastic little layout, fantastic little track, and it's going to be fantastic racing. It is tricky though. It's very difficult to get right. You've got two different parts of this circuit. So you've got that first section where the corners, medium kind of speed corners, nice and easy to get through before it then tightens up, doesn't it, then coming through the straights into all the chicanes and the hairpin before the final chicane at the end. And each chicane in its own is a very different chicane, isn't it? They're not all the same. They're all completely different and very challenging in their own sense.
Yeah, very much so. The first chicane is very much very high curves, which causes some cars to bounce around and lose traction and not being able to be comfortable on the circuit. Then you've got the second chicane, which is 3 corners in a sense, but it's very tight, very bumpy, and very difficult to get down. And probably there's actually 4 chicanes in total here, Matt. You got the one obviously coming out of the hairpin. It's not really a set of corners, it's just there. And then obviously you got the final chicane as well, which is probably the easiest chicane of all of the 3 that are really challenging. Obviously the other one not really a chicane as such, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting circuit. And I tell you what, it's hosted some amazing events as well, not just in 4 wheels but also 2 wheels. It's massively used in cycling as well.
Cycling? Oh, yeah, you go. You caught me off guard with that one. I didn't expect you to say the cycling. But yeah, we are here. Go on, sorry.
Some of the stuff that I learnt last night actually was the fact that it's hosted the world's championships for road cycling. It's been a destination for the road cyclists to come through, and the cyclocross as well. And also the BMX track is located centre of the circuit as well. So when people come and do the BMX racing, they actually have to park on the circuit while they do the racing inside the circuit.
There we go then. You learn something new every single day. Interesting little fact there then. Going into another fact is the BOP system around here, the BMW, the heavily favoured car, which would gain 21 kilograms of BOP, and I think we're seeing that out there at the moment. The next interesting one is the Ford Mustang, 17 kilograms of weight. That isn't really a surprise around this circuit, Dan, is it? The Mustang can straddle them curbs. It's almost like the Bentley and the BMW in that way, where it can ride the curbs well, and because there's quite a few straights around here, it can use that horsepower and that grunt to really pull away.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference between this and probably Monza. Monza's obviously a lot longer, a lot more straight, so it's really the traction zones where the Mustang will probably gain its advantage, and obviously the straight line speed. Not a lot of long straights here, but it's probably the traction zones where the Ford Mustang will be very strong. And obviously the BMW M4 can just abuse curbs just as well as the Bentley and any other big cars as well. So that's why it's more stable around here and more comfortable. So look for the 2 boys that are at the top at the minute of Diz and Robert Smith. And I know for a fact that we're doing a practice session just before we came into this server, and the pro boys were in there as well practicing, and Robert Smith wasn't actually far off the pace of the pro lads. No,
it was only about half a second, 0.7 of a second off the pro pace. The other interesting thing to note, and excuse me, is that the Ferrari only gains 3 kilograms, the Honda only loses 1, the Aston Martin loses 15, so the Aston not a very strong car around here. Lamborghini loses 2. The McLaren gains 13, the Mercedes gains 9, and the Porsche 992 loses 5. So pretty close all around, apart from the Aston loses a lot, and the Ford, McLaren, the Ford and the BMW gain a lot of weight. So that is interesting to note going into this race. We are expecting 19 drivers out there, obviously 18 for race 1. The Jack will be here for race 2. He isn't able to take part in race 1s. So he'll be here for race 2. He has a qualifying ban. Gomez as well. He's been going well of late in qualifying and in a few reverse grid races. Keep your eyes out for him in this race as well. I think the two drivers we are missing at the moment are DJ Phil and Dean Wasocki, currently on the track. Currently from not in the lobby at the moment. Romeo's just got in. He's a man on form, but Gomez has been in that form, in a strong car for this circuit. He's got to feel good about his chances.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think the thing is, like I was saying earlier, is how comfortable is he in that Ford to abuse these curbs? I mean, if the Ford is meant to be quite strong around here, as is the BMW, then it's how he handles the pressure of running the curbs. That's the thing about this circuit. From what I've learned experience, it's all well and good being quick on one lap, but it's being able to abuse and use the curbs and be consistent around here. But if he keeps that consistency up, I don't see why not the Mustang can't win a race here this evening. But we'll see how they go. But I do think you've got to keep an eye on Romeo in that Porsche, because the Porsche has got fantastic traction, probably the strongest in the traction zones. And if it gets a good exit out of corners, it could give him a headache with the short straights as well.
And Romeo's been absolutely on it in recent weeks, hasn't he? Especially in them straight lines with his Porsche. He's had it hooked up where others haven't necessarily. You look at the likes of Gary. In fact, who was it? I believe it was Diego Flores and Romeo the other week. The difference in straight line speed between the two Porsches was incredible. And we've said this, haven't we, in Pro as well, about Will Friedman. His Porsche seems to be more hooked up than Gary's Porsche in the straight line.
Yeah, I think Romeo's probably spent a lot of time with this car and knows how to run it. A lot of drivers tend to pick a car that they know and comfortable and able to race. That's why you see in the pros, you don't see many people going a bit crazy. They tend to stick to what they know. Yeah, I think obviously as well, Gary's very used to the Project Cars Porsche, which was pretty much good in a straight line anyway on Project Cars. It was a very good all-round car. Then you come to ACC and the Porsche is down on power compared to everything else. So and he's used to the 991-2 GT4, I believe it's called. He's then moved to the 992, which handles very differently again, which you find with Porsches don't tend to actually feel the same. They look identical, they're pretty much a Beetle, but they tend to act very differently throughout the generations.
And if you just look at the circuit there as well, we're just watching Diego Flores come through turn one while you were saying that there. The interesting thing for me is the track had a bit of a shine to it. Now, there is no rain expected for tonight's race, but it is a very dark track, isn't it? A lot of trees surrounding the circuit, and while it's really cloudy and really heavy cloud tonight, it does make that track have a bit of a shine where the surface is. You could just see it sort of on the lights from the Honda of Cranky Duckhead that we're watching. But it's also going to affect this circuit with that heavy cloud, with that I know the track is optimum at the moment, but with them trees around and that heavy cloud around, the track is going to take that bit longer to sort of get rubbered in, and we've noticed in practice people have felt a little slippy and slidey, haven't they, just with that lack of grip at the moment.
Especially on the Saturday settings. We're currently still on the Saturday settings, so that's another reason to look at it as well. Obviously ACC tends to make the Sunday a little bit more grippier and better anyway. From what we're hoping, the GT4 has had a fantastic night last night. We did have a server issue, which we then managed to get the server reset. Yes, there was only 8 minutes left of the race, but it was still necessary due to the championship contenders, and majority of the cars did get disconnected. So it was great to see close racing, and the GT4 showed that you can race around here hard. And through my experiences, it's definitely one of those circuits where it definitely invites close racing, this circuit, with the long straights, the heavy braking zones. It's a more technical version of Monza, in my opinion.
We've seen in the past, haven't we, where myself, yourself and De Silva had a good hard battle. The other year when you was on the commentary, myself, Ripper, De Silva, Overtaker had a good hard battle. Just emphasising what you're saying there. Smithy as well, back on Project Cars 2 with his one and only win. You know, just emphasising what you're saying is it rewards consistent driving, it rewards smooth driving, but it also does bring you that closeness, them fights that you want to see. And it's not necessarily drivers making moves every corner, but it is that tactical battle of drivers sitting behind and being patient and waiting. You saw it last night, you're going to see it again tonight. Hopefully though, the championship standings look a little like this. There's 4 drivers who can still win the championship tonight. That is Richie Michelle, John Goodey, Tim Ventic and Max Mulder, but Max Mulder can pretty much wrap this up tonight. No Tim Ventic, he is away on holiday, so he will pretty much lose out on the championship tonight in this one. John Goodey is P3 with Richie Michelle in 4th. Diz, the first driver who cannot win the championship tonight, is P5. from Justin Winter. Brian Craig, P7 with S2M Burrabex in P8. Robert Smith, P9 from Sam in 10th place. Dennis Hansen is P11 from Paul Williams. Mark Tucker from Kieran Argett. Diego Flores from Naval Gomez. Darren Bell, DJ Phil, Senna, Fat Bloke, Cranky Ducker, Dean, Michael, Mirko Ritchie, Graham, John Andrews, Lund, Dean Wasocki, Nuke Waste, Jackal, Lund, Jackal, Dean Wasocki, Nuke Waste, Andrew Taylor, and MB Pitts. The Constructors' Championship as well can be won tonight by BSP Racing, but you feel on the back foot having one car only. Greasy Bandits could manage to maybe take it to the second race if possible. It is between BSP Racing and the current defending Pro-Am champions, Greasy Bandits Racing. Team Milo were P3 ahead of Stage 2. Motorsport were Richie Corsa P5. Team FBR P6 from FSO Juniors. Retroactive Racing are P8. Forever Forward, though, lead that Independence Championship. Forta Racing not here tonight. Neither are Forever Forward. Neither are Cool Shop. Neither are the Greasy Bandits Racing Junior Independent team. No Dean Wasocki for the start of this race, so he should have started on pole. That will then pass it to Romeo for the pole position, and DJ Phil as well has missed the start of the race, so he will have to go from the back of the grid, Dan.
He will indeed, and start from pit lane, which, to be honest, may not be a bad thing. Obviously, we've seen in the past a lot of chaos happen here at Zolder. Pro last season was a complete and utter mess. I remember that race very vividly, yeah, I mean, it might be a helpful thing for DJ Phil to start from pit lane. I mean, I did put him in for the prediction for a race winner. Matt, obviously I'm going to get your opinion on this, but you got to look at the Porsche driver at the front row. He's got the clean air, and it's going to take a lot for the guys behind. And you got to think Max Mulder pretty much can wrap the title here tonight. There's no Tim Venting. Diz and John Goudet not really there to really hamper him. It's more now trying to score points for the constructors here tonight. But I think for race 1, it's looking like Romeo is going to be the one.
I'm looking at row 2. I'm looking at Gomez. I'm thinking if he can get a... yeah, I'm going to go Gomez. I think if he can get a good start, he can get cleanly away.
Power. I'm going mechanical grip.
Yeah. Hurts me not to say the Honda. You went your favourite car. It hurts me not to go the Honda. I fancy that Mustang on row 2. In fact, actually, now, hang on a second now, if I'm correct. We had this problem last week with Sooty Apex. He thought he jumped the start and was very slow to get away. Now, I think Gomez is on row 3 because of DJ Phil. Well, it might be different because DJ Phil's returned to the pit lane, but Romeo is on that front row on his own because Dean Wasocki is not here, I do believe. I think Romeo, has done the same thing. I think he has slowed a lot because of this. No, he looks like now, actually, the camera's panning around, he looks like he's back on that front row on his own. So that's going to be beneficial for Romeo, though, as we come down towards the start line. And for round 21 of the season, it is green and go, and Romeo's already going to get away well, all on his own down towards turn 1. He can pull over to the racing line and pull in as he goes. Look, Diego Flores is looking up the inside of Naval Gomez then, who will then have the inside line for the next part of the corner. Turn 2, which is the right-hand bend, has to brake a bit earlier because of Cranky Duckhead just in front. It is all very spread out and congested just behind these front couple of cars. And that is S2M Burrabex, who looked like he was off and has possibly caught and collected Max Mulder then. So the championship lead has been caught up in all sorts of strife early on. That is Paul Williams getting overtaken by that of Sam in the Aston Martin. And so Max Mulder and S2M Burrabex in all sorts of chaos already. Where is Burrabex? Does he have much damage to the front of his car? DJ Phil is now away. Let's take a look as he comes through. Got a bit of rear damage. Can't quite see the front end at the moment. Well, not massive amount. Just got a bit of a scuff. What about Max Mulder down the order?
Romeo's dropped it. Romeo's made a mistake. He lost the back end, and Gomez now on the inside of him, going up towards the far end of the circuit. And there's no Tim tonight, Tracy. He is currently on holiday, but Gomez in the Mustang is pressurising the Porsche. Meanwhile, the Cranky Duckhead has got a train behind him.
He has got a train behind him, and they all managed to get out of harm's way and avoid that one. As I forgot about the cameraman at the hairpin, he doesn't really like being picking up the action, as we can see now. Here comes Naval Gomez going up the inside. It's in towards the final chicane. Gomez on the inside line, and the Mustang showing its superiority around here at the moment. Takes the lead of this race thanks to a mistake to Romeo earlier on in the lap. Cranky has dropped down the order. He's got passed now by Justin Winter, and has got John Goudet and Max Mulder, who's had a good recovery to get onto the back of Goudet. And look at this down the start straight, Dan.
Yeah, Sam's benefited from that. Tucker went straight on at turn 1, and already Robert Smith looking very good in the BMW, clearing most of the traffic, but Dennis Hansen also looked very good in practice as well. But multiple cars, Brian Craig nearly pushing Sam along there.
I think Brian Craig's been tapped.
Gone round.
Yeah, I think he's received a tap. The 333 yellow flag on the track map. He is definitely around. Diz has gone through. He's now trying to go around the outside of Paul Williams at turn 3. That's a brave, bold move, but it can be done, and it is done by Diz around the outside at turn 3. He's now looking further forward in this race. So that puts Williams, Richie Michelle, Justin Winter, John Goodey, Cranky Duckhead and Max Mulder and Borough Beck's upper place. DJ Phil still well off the rear, but it is so congested in this midfield. And Romeo's now been tapped by Dennis Hansen.
All sorts of chaos here, and Robert Smith now will go in front of that, and Robert Smith looking very good at practice. Romeo just trying to rejoin as soon as he possibly can, and all sorts of chaos is happening here at Zolder. But it's Gomez in the Mustang who's long gone into the distance. Well, I've clearly got the curse tonight.
Dennis Hansen has dropped down the order as well. I don't know if he's been tapped by Robert Smith or if he lost it on his own on the exit of the chicane. He's trying to look up the inside of Borough Becks. He's dropped behind him into 15th place, just ahead of Brian Craig. Diego Flores trying to stick with Robert Smith. Samuel had a podium last time out. He's looking for another one here. Mark Tucker's up to 5th with Diz in 6th place. Paul Williams. Then it is Richie Michelle and Max Mulder who dive straight into the pit lane to get their mandatory pit stop out of the way. It opened at the end of lap 2. So they're straight in. Borough Becks comes in as well. And if I was DJ Phil, I'd possibly be tempted to do an undercut.
Diego Flores has had a moment as well, so he's had a moment at turn 1 all on his own, and they're all starting to flood their way through into turn 2, and he's getting mugged left, right and centre. Justin Winter now up the inside of him as well, going into turn 2, but can't quite get the run. Porsche on Porsche, Beetle on Beetle, and he can't find a way through at the minute. He's looking left, he's looking right, going into turn 3, and he's up the inside of Gomez and gets the job. Diego Flores and gets the job done.
That's a lovely move.
Gomez, he's long gone into the distance, but Robert Smith is starting to hunt him down, as the Mustang didn't actually show much pace in practice. He was currently 1.7 off the pace.
1.7 off the pace, and now John Goodey can start to have a look at the back of Diego Flores as we're currently watching the fight between Diz and Mark Tucker for 4th and 5th in this race. Diz just has to go a little deep at the chicane to avoid hitting the back of Tucker there. That's allowed Williams onto the rear end of him, and still 4 drivers in the pit lane, still yet to do their mandatory stop. As we say that, Max Mulder does his. He's still got damage on the side of his car. Richie Michelle now goes green, but Max Mulder's jumped Richie Michelle early on in this stop as the drivers come towards the end of the lap. It is Naval Gomez who leads this race from Robert Smith. 4.6 seconds was the gap coming through sector 2. Then it is Sam from Mark Tucker from Diz, with Paul Williams being hassled by Justin Winter, who might maybe just having a look up the inside but thinks better of it, and they both dive into the pit lane.
Yeah, definitely so. And looked like Justin Winter was not going to make the corner. So I think Paul Williams probably thought it's probably best to come into the pits. And they all get close coming into pit lane. Oh, God, that gives me nightmares every time. But Robert Smith, though, into 2nd place and takes fastest lap of the race. And he's on the move.
He is on the move. Dean Wasaki's in the chat. I don't know why Dean isn't in the lobby for this race. But through goes DJ Phil. He's had to wait at the pit lane exit as drivers was coming through. He is able to rejoin, but clearly didn't want to get in the leader's way after missing the start of this race. Romeo now trying to recover on the back of Cranky Duckhead.
He is indeed, and right now, if I was Romeo, I would have pitted earlier than this. I would have got into the pits and used that clean air just as Max Mulder's doing. But either way, he wants to have a fight, and I think this is what I did last time out at Zandvoort. You know, I just want to have a bit of fun, get in the action a little bit. Mark Tucker's had a moment all on his own. He's now dropped behind Diz, and yeah, he's lost out ever so slightly by running a little bit wide out of the chicane.
Dennis Hansen looked like he had a moment out the chicane as well. He's managed to keep going. He's got Brian Craig right on the back of him, but Cranky Duckhead here coming under some immense pressure of that from that of Romeo in this race. And already Romeo has a stop-go penalty for Paul Williams speeding in the pit lane. And Romeo's now going to look up the inside at the hairpin, but he's not going to get it done there. No drivers yet returning to or driving into the pit, should I say, as through the final couple of corners they come in towards the final chicane. I believe that was one of the BMWs of the retroactive racing team. And was that Diz who entered pit lane? No, it was not. Cars. There we go then.
Max Mulder in pit lane has cleared all the traffic. So Sam comes into the pits. This is going to be a very good reputation on how Sam is going to compare to Max. Did Max pit at the perfect time? That's the question. As Romeo also comes into the pits wanting to get out of the traffic.
He does want to get out of the traffic. Diego Flores within a second of the car in front. Cranky Duckhead now has Dennis Hansen for company in the background. And this is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on, as Dennis Hansen maybe not looking for that undercut too hard in this race, but is that the strategy he wants to pull out? Robert Smith starting to close that gap on Naval Gomez in the foreground here, as Dennis Hansen now right up the rear of that Honda of Cranky Duckhead. He's going to pull that inside line, but just has a little look. Nothing more than that at the moment. Max Mulder, like you say, over Romeo and Sam. Where is he? He's coming into that final chicane. Sam has now just been dropped. Romeo still waiting to go. Max Mulder exits the chicane now with that damage. And that is Sam, who I reckon is just off the limiter now. This is going
a longer
to be
exit.
Very tight. Yeah, he has indeed. As he comes round the exit now, Max Mulder's coming through. And as we stay on board, Sam will be able to see up at the top of your screen. Max
They're going to be
Mulder.
side by side.
Yeah, they are side by side. Look at that going into the corner, and Sam just manages to cover Max Mulder off. Stays ahead just enough. Max trying to look up the inside line. Not close enough though there. And that's Sam who stays in front. Romeo came out. In fact, he's coming out still, as the others have got through. But Max Mulder, I tell you what, that is awfully close for them to exit the pit lane. And it is a tricky pit exit here, Dan.
It is indeed, but also Max Mulder, a fantastic strategy call there, has put him in a net 4th place position. Sam sitting in that 3rd place. So Max has made a lot of places without being in the traffic, and that's exactly what he needs to do to win this title here tonight. And right now, Sam has got all the pressure of the current championship leader and ex-Pro-Am champion in the Project Cars days, and he's really hustling the back of the Aston, and Max runs a little bit wide.
If the Aston in GT3s is as bad as the Aston in GT4s, it'll be kicking out some horrendous dirty air as Max tries to distract Sam a little bit. Tries to look like he goes up the inside, but breaks earlier and comes back to the racing line. And Max now looks like he's got a better run out the hairpin and through the chicane. Is he going to be up the inside for that final chicane? Max gets the job done up the inside, but he runs too deep, and he's surely after going to give that place back to Sam. And Sam should come flying back past him. Max stays to the one side, lets Sam retain that position. But Max clearly up for a fight, even though he can win the championship with his teammate not being here tonight, and he can do it pretty easy. He still wants to have a good scrap.
Yeah, he does indeed, and right now Max is just looking to have an advantage over the car in front in that Aston Martin. Meanwhile, Cranky Duckhead has still been trying to defend from Dennis Hansen in that 6th and 7th place position, as Dennis Hansen's actually got past him in the hairpin, so another job done for Dennis Hansen. But Sam, meanwhile, doing everything he possibly can. Diz is now into the pit, so this should be interesting to see how that pans out with him. Yeah, but Sam's holding Max up big time. Oh, Sam's dropped it.
He's had a wiggle. He's had a moment. And that is that job done for Max Mulder. Did Michelle Ritchie get past? No, he didn't. So just Max Mulder through. And now have they passed Diz? No, I think these was about a lap down, wasn't they, over Diz? Because they've gone through sector 1. Yeah, they're not past Diz at the moment, so you do pretty much lose quite a lot of time through the lap here in the pit lane. So Diz into the pits now. Dennis Hansen and Cranky Duckhead will be up another place, and Max Mulder is coming up to the hairpin now. This is going to be interesting for me, Dan, because Diz was close to Sam at the pit stops. So will Max be behind Diz? Diz still yet to drop. Robert Smith's in 1.6 now of Gomez, just showing his pace as Max says it's the chicane, and yeah, Diz only just away now. He is at the bottom end. He is, though. So to be fair, this could be once again pretty close between Max and Diz.
Old rivals in the start of the season.
Oh, we've just lost a driver from this race, and I believe that is S2M Burrow-Bex. Oh no, it's not. It is Romeo. That's a shame.
Romeo, yeah.
And again, look, Max Mulder finds it on the back of Diz. He's going up the inside of Diz now, through turn 2 in towards turn 3. Diz will know you can fight it around there, but he can't at the moment. Max gets it on the apex, and I tell you what, Max Mulder, that's twice he's come just perilously close to jumping the driver, and he's had to work hard for it. Diz isn't going to let him settle, though. Diz is going to let the run go up the inside of the chicane, but it's just a look as Max really bounces over the first chicane.
Warm tyres and more pressure on board that McLaren, and Diz is fighting. He's probably still got a little bit under pressure tyres, but he's going to be down the inside of the chicane, and Sam hits Max!
So Sam's hit Max, he's waited for Max to go, and now he gets going.
He's still taking a while, and he's just got right in front of Justin Winter there.
Yeah, that could be an unsafe rejoin from Max Mulder. Not sure, I'd have to take a look back on that one if it goes into the steward's room. But I tell you what, this is not the way Max would have wanted it. If Tim was in this lobby tonight, that would have made things very interesting. Robert Smith is in the pits, as is Dennis Hansen and Cranky Duckhead. So Diz through, Richie Michelle through, who's got the fastest lap of the race now, Dan.
He has indeed. So we know that Ferrari, and especially in the hands of Richie Michelle, can be quite quick, as Robert Smith has now gone green. He's further down the pit lane. So him and his teammate Diz are going to be relatively close, as he's now off the limiter. I think Diz has got Robert Smith done here. He has. So Diz losing out to his teammate, or newly signed teammate. There's only signed this season, or towards the half end of the season, sorry. But Diz now back in front, and Richie Michelle has both done Robert Smith.
That's massively interesting, because Robert Smith has been closing down Gomez this entire race. Gomez is now into the pit lane. This could be an interesting pit stop for Gomez in this race. Justin Winters just losing out to Max a little bit. In fact, that's Dennis Hansen who is now splitting Max Mulder and Justin Winter. So Max is P7 at the moment. Max would have been a bit closer, you know, to Robert Smith, I reckon, as he bounces off the chicane. Well held. Max Mulder in the background. Mark Tucker takes the lead in this race with Gomez, and that of Diego Flores coming into the pit lane. Gomez, the interesting one to keep our eyes on, as Diz is coming round.
Max has gone straight on.
There's a yellow flag. Car 68. That's Borough Bex.
He's in the pits.
Yes, he returned to the pits, and Max Mulder went straight on where?
He went straight on out the chicane. He couldn't make his break in, and Dennis Hansen's got him now.
Yeah, Dennis Hansen has got him. There's a bit of damage on Robert Smith's car.
And also a bit of damage to the back of Gomez's wing.
Is that why Robert Smith has maybe had a longer pit stop?
Well, Gomez has now gone green. Diz is now crossing the line. This is going to be close for race lead. Diz looking strong here for a race win.
Yeah, out of nowhere really. He was P4 before the pit stops. As you hear that Mustang coming out of pit lane, here comes Diz. They don't go side by side. Richie Michelle gets the move done on Gomez as well. So that is 2 for 1. And yeah, there has to maybe have been a coming together between Gomez and that then of Robert Smith.
Diz been? We've missed him most of the midpoint of the season, and he's come back alive towards the end of the season.
He's
back to BMW circuits again.
Yeah, exactly, and it just goes to show that track selection is going to be key. This is what's going to be interesting about the BOP next season. Making them cars more sort of average on each circuit is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. Max Mulder's on the rear of Dennis Hansen, but again just taking a lot of that first chicane. Sam Bunny Ops over it as well. Just dropping down the order behind Sam is Diego Flores. He looks like he's got Brian Craig and Cranky Duckhead in a little trio scrap here. John Gooday's 8 seconds off the back of him, so he's had a bit of a nightmare race once again. DJ Phil, damage to the front end of his car, so he's possibly at something. As Borough Beck still stationary in the pits. Paul Williams comes around and will overtake him. And Mark Tucker still stationary at the minute, yet to go green. You lose a lot of time here in the pits.
Yeah, you do indeed, but obviously you've got to think as well that they've got a long entry and then a good exit as well. So he's now gone green, actually, Tucker. So this could be quite close between Gomez, Smith. Smith has got ahead of Gomez, I think.
He has, yeah.
Yes,
he has indeed.
yes.
And Gomez is pretty much within the clutches of Dennis Hansen here. And that on Max Mulder. Where is Mark Tucker going to come out then? Coming around the
just
corner
behind
now.
Mulder, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Possibly Justin Winter. There's Max Mulder.
Yeah.
There's Justin Winter. There's Sam. Oh, they're side by side just as we go down to it. And Tucker's going to stay at the inside of Sam. Is he just? Yes, he is. So Mark Tucker comes out P8 in this race. But it is Diz, your race leader from Richie Michelle, who's on a charge and is trying to stay in this championship fight. At the moment in this race, this could be interesting.
It could be interesting, but I really don't think Max has anything to worry about. He just needs to finish where he is at this stage. Yes, he's going to lose points in the teams, but he's pretty much got the constructors, the drivers wrapped up. He just needs to make sure that he finishes every race, basically.
Yeah, he does just need to make sure he finishes every single race.
Dennis Hansen right on Gomez going into the hairpin, right up his rear wing.
I wonder if Gomez and Smith did have a coming together, because there is a bit of damage on them cars. And that is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. As here comes Dennis Hansen looking towards the inside line into the final chicane. But that grunt to the Ford Mustang manages to keep him in front here. Going into that final chicane, there's going to be about 2 laps left. And again, the Mustang. This is where you see that in them traction zones can just power out of the corner and really pull away. Not massively, though. So that rear damage is clearly causing him some problems.
don't ever estimate the McLaren. It's a very strong car, and Dennis Hansen having a mentor of Eckholt, so anything is still possible here, and they have been doing a lot of times around here. And Hansen goes up the inside of Gomez. They make contact there, and Hansen pushes him wide there, and Max Mulder will benefit from that one. So Gomez a little bit shoved off track there by Hansen. Yeah,
down 2 places for Gomez in this race. So what can he do? We have lost Romeo. It is internet, he's saying in the Discord. So that will be not a retirement. He was quick to state that it was internet, and he's trying his hardest to get back in for that second race, he has said. So it'll be no points for him, but more importantly, it will not be that qualifying ban going into next week. It is only the Jackal who has a qualifying ban coming in to race 2. 666, that's Dennis Hansen! He's just got himself a drive-through for track limits!
That's another position for Max Mulder. That'll be another cut out the way, and that's that horrible second chicane. That's where you get the warnings, and he's clearly gone a little bit too far, and Hansen just pushing too hard, and it's just too much already. Meanwhile, Richie Michel right on the rear wing of Diz now. He's starting to give him a bit of a headache as they come through for the last couple of laps here at Zolder.
They are indeed. They're going to start the penultimate lap of this first race. Diz does fastest lap. Richie Michel took it straight back off him. Snatched it almost, as Gomez is still within 3/10 of Max Mulder. Dennis Hansen straight in. He's not messing around at all. Justin Winters got Sam. In fact, he did have Sam within 4/10. Sam looks like he's made a mistake somewhere, because he has just been overtaken by Mark Tucker. Diego Flores has been passed by Cranky Duckhead and by Brian Craig, as Flores a little squirrely out that final corner there. John Gooday just has no pace in this one today, and Burrobex is back out on track. So I'm wondering if Burrobex got hit by something or someone, because Robert Smith had huge damage. Did he maybe have a moment and catch Robert Smith and maybe Gomez?
Well, I could probably have a look for you.
I wouldn't be able to tell you what lap it was on. That's the problem.
Nope, I'll just stay on
who has
leaders.
Just gone through? John Gooday has just got past Dennis Hansen. So that shows you how much time you lose in a drive-through penalty. As Gomez just losing out a little bit to Max, but coming through these corners, that's where Max is going to be able to gain over Gomez. Both these drivers suffering with a little bit of damage as well. Tracy in the chat saying crazy race. Indeed it is. Good evening to Simon Blair, as well as Eckholt, Gary Clarble, James Souter in the chat. James Souter, that is current defending F1 champion James, if I'm correct.
That is correct.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Thought so. As well as Fury's granddad, Cranky Duckhead, PM Motorsport, and Peaceful Stepdad, all in the chat as well. Leader starts the final lap. Go on, Dan.
What? I don't know how to describe it. I think Robert Smith possibly intended to come into the pits, missed his braking by a mile, hit S2M Burrobex hard in the rear, and then walloped into Gomez as well.
So that is how them drivers sustain their damage, and why Burrobex was probably in the pits for so long. That is going to be 16th place for Burrobex, who really this season, Dan, ball last week, he cannot buy a result. He's been caught up in so many incidents this season.
Yeah, he has indeed. He's just not had the luck his way, and sadly it's continuing on like that. And like I said, with a couple of drivers coming back again, making their return, he's ended up just dropping down the order once again. At least he's gone back out on track, and he did get walloped quite hard by Robert Smith. I'm not sure if Smith was intending to pit or was just missed his brakes, I don't know, but either way it has ended up with those two with massive damage. Sam, on the other hand, is really struggling at this stage. He looked really good earlier on, but at this stage of the race he just seems to be struggling. He's got Mark Tucker now breathing down his neck.
Well, he's just repassed Tucker earlier on, so yeah, it is an interesting one. But we are coming to the final corner. Richie Michel has got right up the rear wing of that of Diz here in this race, but it's going to be too little too late, and Diz is going to come home to take this race one win. Richie Michel will take a fantastic P2. Great result for him. Robert Smith, double podium for the Retroactive Racing team in P3 before Max Mulder will cross the line P4. Does that make him champion? We'll find out in a few moments time. Naval Gomez P5, good result for him in this race. Justin Winter up in 6th place. That's good for the Greasy Bandits team. Sam takes 7th place. Not a bad result. Mark Tucker will come across in P8 before Brian Craig, his teammate, P9. Cranky Duckhead yet to finish, but he's going to come across the line, P10. Just ahead of that of Diego Flores in 11th place. John Gooday, work to do for race 2. He's going to be P12. Is he going to be P12? Because Dennis Hansen got a better run out the final corner, and it is John Gooday who will take that one ahead of then Dennis Hansen, who was P13. And we're just awaiting DJ Phil, who all of a sudden on the last lap of this race has got Paul Williams right up his rear end.
Fight at the Lamborghinis. I hope the Lamborghinis aren't like this tomorrow. But either way, the Lamborghinis are going at it right at the end of this race. And
Phil's wide!
He's gone very deep. Yeah, he's gone incredibly deep. And off the track he goes.
As the cameraman's not picking them up. And there we go. So that's going to put that one to bed. Paul Williams will cross that line for 15th place, provided any mistakes on this final corner. DJ Phil down in... DJ Phil will be 15th. Paul Williams... excuse me, will be 14th place then in this race. Not the best races for the Stage 2 Motorsport drivers. And as we say, Romeo, not a retirement internet connection problem, but championship is still on. It will be done though come the next race. John Gooday and Richie Michelle are out of the running now, and it is 8 points between 8 points left for Max to score to eliminate Tim. But the Constructors is also done. Greasy Bandits have... BSP Racing have won that Constructors Championship. We will confirm everything by the end of tonight. Obviously, all results are provisional, and we will confirm that as we get them to you by the end of the evening. But it is Diz who takes the first round here tonight with his teammates in P3. We'll be back in a few moments' time. Don't go anywhere. Let me just do the drop score. Oh, Tim's drop score is already 0, so.
Green light, go, go, go.
Oh. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Gone back to the main screen.
Oh yeah, sorry, you are right.
We are on mute, right?
Oh, we are on mute, but we're not on the waiting screen. We are on the waiting screen now. Oops.
Fucking PM. Most view of this is BMW. Lol. Dickhead. Mate, Pro is going to be a joke.
Yep.
We've only got 10 confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah, but half the people haven't even fucking... Is that 10 including Ben?
Yeah. It's only Harris and Dennis and RB that's not confirmed. They're declined. So who else have we missing from that? Peaceful's confirmed. King is confirmed. Insert coin. Gary hasn't.
Yeah, Gary will confirm probably tomorrow. Clarble, fuck knows. Fuchs, I notice Fuchs,
Will hasn't.
that Joseph and Flo all haven't. And yet Dennis Newman's bum buddies. Skeletor, he has. Eckholt. See, Eckholt's not confirmed either. Ben has. Sauber hasn't. De Hoffner hasn't. Tag all these tomorrow. Flen. Joe, he probably won't race. Hayes Hunter. Kyle. Sebastian. Nova. Will. Just this is why August's just not really the time to duo.
Mike, why do you have to get involved in every conversation?
Fuck knows. It's like he has to monitor it and chirp up, isn't it?
Stupid. I already told.
Pierre needs to tone it down in the chat room.
Oh, what's he saying in chat now?
Just like and subscribe, you know, how we just a bit OTT sometimes.
Yeah. Alright, I'm going to run to the toilet quickly. start for fucking quality on the toilet again. What the fuck? Oh my god. Okay. 5, 4. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies once again for being late back with this stream. I'm a little under the weather today, so just stepping away for a moment, having a few refreshments, taking some tablets, and yeah, not going to be going to the rest, but a bit under the weather today, which is why we are a bit late on the streams. Dan would have obviously normally taken control and gone live, but obviously we're streaming from my end today, so Dan doesn't really have the control tonight to go live and do that. So we do apologise for going late. 6 minutes 50 left of qualifying. It is currently Max Mulder who is the fastest driver from Richie Michelle. Robert Smith's P3 from Des P4. Paul Williams is P5 from Dennis Hansen in 6th. Brian Craig 7th. Diego Flores is 8th. Naval Gomez is P9 from Burrobex P10. Cranky Duckhead 11th. Mark Tucker's 12th. Justin Winter is 13th. DJ Phil excuse me, is P14. Sam is 15th with John Gooday, the Jekyll on a qualifying ban, and we do have Dean Wysocki in for this second race. Still though, Dan, noting no Romeo out there on the circuit, so I take it he's still struggling to get in the lobby.
Yeah, possibly. So no internet for him. Obviously, I mean he's struggling to get back in, but sadly no Romeo for race 2. But nonetheless, it is Max Mulder, your championship leader, or possibly champion. We need to confirm nor deny that, but Max Mulder top of the session with a 28.9. Decent lap time from him there, with Richie Michelle in second, Robert Smith not a million miles away, and Diz also back up there again. So we'll see how the rest of them get on through the rest of this qualifying, even though pretty much most of it is done and dusted, but anything can still happen just at the very end. So yeah, not long left to go.
Not long left to go at all in this qualifying session. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we do apologise for that longer delay in the mid-session break. Oh, excuse me. Cracking race 1, Dan. We're a bit chaotic for the championship leader, potential champion. But he got through it, and I think that's the main thing for Max. He's got to count his chickens that there's less cars on the grid tonight for him to be able to, if he has a bad night, still be able to come away with good points.
Well, come away with good points and probably the championship. I mean, like you said, he got to outscore Tim by basically 8 points. So unless he disconnects, then yeah, it's that's really all that's left, really. I mean, Bax could probably take this pole position. That's then 7 points. 9 points advantage going into it, and yeah, it's pretty much in the bag for Max. With no Tim turning up being on holiday, it's he's just got to look forward now, and Diz now goes into second. He can have a little bit of fun with his older rival Diz at the start of the season, because it was pretty much between Max and Diz at the start of the season anyway, and Diz obviously seemed to be busy with work and seemed to drop off the pace a little bit mid-season, and Max is just ramping on a rampage.
There we go then, Richie Michelle going up the top of the order. So Max Mulder sat in the pit lane, no longer top of the timing screens as car 31. That's Cranky Duckhead coming back round to the final corner. So let's see what they can do at the moment. And yeah, interesting night. One man who it's just gone horribly wrong for this back end of the season, Dan, is John Gooday. He has just dropped off the edge of the cliff.
Yeah, he has. I think a lot of that is the Aston Martin. In the right hands, it's very competitive, and I just don't think he's able to get the best out of it. He looked a lot better, in my opinion, in the Mercedes-Benz when he used to run that. But obviously, he's the man in the car. He's the choice of running it, and only he knows what suits him best. But I think not enough time in the Aston. He knows the Mercedes very well, and just hasn't got the pace round here.
Yeah, hasn't got the pace around here at all. But yeah, an interesting one, like you say. We're currently watching DJ Phil come round to finish his next lap in this session. Excuse me. As through he comes in towards the final chicane now, and this is going to be an interesting one to see what DJ Phil can do. Currently 3.4 off the pace, needs 1.1 seconds to get himself ahead of Mark Tucker as he comes to the final. To the start line now, crosses the line, and no improvement there. There was a car off in the background. That was the 75 of Diz, who's returned to the pit lane. The 113 next up. That is Naval Gomez, who Like you said in race 1, Dan, he was over a second off the pace in free practice. He's over a second and a half off the pace in qualifying. I believe he's on an invalid lap. How much you can believe that blue dot anymore? He doesn't improve, so it may indicate that he was on an invalid one.
Yeah, like I said, he was about 1.7 off the pace. He was at the front end of the pack and allowed himself to get away. Then the pressure started coming to him and the drivers were slowly catching to the point then he lost out. Max Zolder to the line, no improvement from him as Diz returns back on track. And yeah, we're down to the last 2 minutes of this session. So if you're out on track now, this is it. This is your last chance. And John Goudet still not put a lap time together yet.
Yeah, he's still not put a lap time together. And what he won't want is for Dean Wysocki to get a lapping, so that'll put him down another spot. John looked all out of shape coming through that final chicane. Looked like he touched the grass a little bit as well. Is this another invalid lap time for John Goudet? Yes, it is. So John Goudet there, not able to put another lap time on the board. A few blue lap times out there. Let's watch Robert Smith come round. Very tight though down at the top. 9/10 separating the top 7. And Paul Williams has managed to get himself within a second of Richie Michelle. So great effort from Paul Williams here.
Yeah, definitely so, and the Lamborghini does appear to have some form of pace around here, and Paul Williams is trying to make it work. Dennis Hansen was another one in practice that looked very good, just seems to be off his overall pace at the minute, possibly at different conditions in this one. Track temperature is slightly lower than the session before, so yeah, possibly just that slight degree, maybe just may tweak the setup ever so slightly, but we'll see what the rest of these guys could do. No one currently on a green lap except for, I believe, Brian Craig.
As he's coming towards the final chicane, what can Brian do through here then? It just takes a little too much curb on the first point. Just see him kick up a bit of dirt as he exits the chicane now, coming down towards the start line. Max Zolder back out on track. Diz is in the pits, so Diz is done, and Brian Craig finds a small improvement, not enough to do anything. Dean Wysocki's next. He's not got a lap time in yet. His dot is light blue, but again, we've noticed that until you get a valid lap time on the board, that doesn't change from blue. Dean comes to the line now, does put in a valid lap time, 3/10 off the back Sam. That knocks John Goudet down the order at one spot, but he's also not got a valid lap time in. So will this be valid for John Goudet? It is, and he goes P7, so manages to finally get a good lap time in on the board.
Well, he does indeed, and Richie Michelle just ghosting Max Zolder at the minute. Wherever Max seems to go, Richie's there in the Ferrari just behind him. And surprised that Ferrari had some pace. We haven't really spoken about the Ferrari today. No. And I do think the Ferrari is, once again, it's another good all-rounder. But next is Gomez, who's into the final part of the lap. He goes through that pointless chicane up towards the final chicane. What can he do in the Mustang? Currently at 1.5 off the pace. So he has found 2/10 previously. Can he find a little bit more here as he goes through the final corner? Now releases the Mustang and comes to the line now and does find some time.
Yeah, does find some time. Moves inside a second and moves up into P7. Cranky Duck, it'll be done. He's just cut across that final chicane. Richie Michelle is done. So if Max Zolder is up here, no, he's round. Max is done, so it will not be pole position for him. Dean Wysocki, the next man on a valid lap time. And for Max Zolder there, it will not be that crucial point he needed. I say crucial, it's not really, is it?
No, not really. As Dean Wysocki now into the chicane, can he get himself ahead of Sam or DJ Phil? He's just struggling a little bit there on the exit, but he comes towards the line now and does improve and get ahead of Sam, but Sam is on a lap, so can Sam improve? And showing that Aston Martin is struggling around here, but coming to the line now, what can Sam do? Is that going to be off the back row? 12th in the end, so
yeah. Not a bad lap for Sam at all. So that then is the grid for this second race. DJ Phil, is he still on a lap here? I thought it would have not counted him if he was on an invalid one. So was DJ Phil still on a valid lap? He wasn't improved by a couple of hundredths of a second. But it is Richie Michelle then who will take pole position in a top 9 within 9/10 of a second. That is a fantastic qualifying from everybody who participated in this one. Robert Smith fourth, just showing Robert Smith and Diz that BM is pretty strong. It's a shame that Dean wasn't able to get the right testing and everything in to prove the BMW's dominance. And Jackal on that quali ban, we only see Jackal in race 2s. He's going to be interesting in a car that seems superior from the back of the grid.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how he gets on. He needs to obviously stay out of the trouble. He needs to basically believe he is a championship contender now, thinking he's at the back. And he's just got to pick his way through. He's just got to find his way through the gaps. And wait for the chaos to happen and get in when he needs to pit at the right time. Strategy is what's key around here.
Well, with Dean Wysocki making this race, this is his 250th race start at SimPlay Motorsport, so another milestone on yet another week for drivers. We just had 5 last week: the Ginetta, Dennis Newman, Max Mulder, John Gooday and Jamal Cloud, and we now get a few more milestones this week. Gary Leach can get his 350th tomorrow night, and with BMW winning the first race here, if BMW win tonight and win 2 tomorrow, that'll be its 50th race win. So plenty of milestones being achieved by drivers and manufacturers alike towards the back end of this season. And Dan, who's your money on for this race? Because it's going to be an interesting one, the hour-long race. Obviously, the pit stop coming up later. We saw drivers really struggle at stages in that 20 minutes. Who are you picking for this one?
20 seconds.
Either one of the BMWs I'm going with. Either one of the BMW. Either Diz or Robert Smith. Not sure which one, but either one of them.
There we go then. And I'm just scrolling through. That is Richie Michel's first ever pole position here at SimPlay Motorsport. So, good time to get it. Not in the championship fight anymore, but great time to get your first ever pole position. And for Ferrari, that is pole position number 23. So they are now 2 away from 25 pole positions. Could get 1 more tomorrow, and then 1 more next week to get that milestone before the end of the season. So another milestone possibly being achieved there. BMW won race 1, that takes it to 47 race wins, and the podiums was double podium for BMW, that takes it to 142, and Ferrari got 1 as well. They moved to 103 podiums. In terms of Richie Michel and Diz, Richie Michel now goes on to, just trying to find his name, tell you what, we'll do a quick search. We search for Diz, who is not there for some reason, because his name would have been typed in. He is now on 6 podiums in his SimPlay career. Robert Smith is now on 3. And Richie Michel is now on 8 podiums himself. So, climbing up the order, moving up to the 8 podiums. That puts him on the same amount of podiums as Dean Wysocki, Phil from Project Cars 2 Days, NJ Cobb and Green Wolf and A2. If he gets a podium in the next race, that'll put him with Ben Parky, Sekulovic and Flem Speed 1. But he joins that list of pole sitters of Valeside, Richie, PN Motorsport, Phil, John Boy, Gelram, Ben Phelan, Arts, Nexus, Abel Seif, X-Fate Silent, Hitman, we're Kishanyika, Porto, Mutz Nuts, Mathix, Ginger Bush, GT Jimbo, Ian Gray, Diz, Wesley Kuiper, Yussi from the Endurance Racers, and Skunky and Romeo. Sorry, Skunky had taken his second pole position last night. So on a long list of pole positions, long way to go though. 56 behind yourself, Dan, who is the most pole positions at SimPlay Motorsport. So he's gained 1 over you.
Yes, he very much has, and it's been a while actually since I've had what's it called? I can't remember the word now.
Pole position?
Stat. One of the
milestone.
Most recent stat. Yeah. That's the one. Milestone.
You're only 11 away, so nearly there.
11 away from
300th race start. You're also 10 podiums away from 200, so there you go.
Exciting. Anyway, back to Pro-Am.
Well, Richie Michel lagged a moment there and turned back into the pit lane. He's still on track, so don't worry. We're all going to be crossing our fingers. Has the Honda ever had a podium, says the Cranky Duckhead? Before the race starts, I can tell you it has had 65 podiums, 22 race wins. That is a Cora/Honda. But we are for round 21 of the season. Green and go. There's 3 races left, and it's an even start from Richie Michel and Max Mulder down in towards turn 1. Max looking around the outside of Richie Michel, which will give him that inside line for the next part. Looks like he had a bit of a slide there. Manages to hold it all together. They all come flying through. Everybody through turn 1 nice and cleanly. Max now takes the lead of this race up the inside. Robert Smith coming under pressure from Burrow Becks further back in turn 2 and turn 3, and that is just Justin Winter, who's just drifted a little wide onto the grass. And Borough Bex has managed to get ahead of Dennis Hansen, but just can't quite get past Robert Smith. And here comes Diz, who's attacking the back of Richie Michelle. And Max comes back to the racing line. Richie Michelle's now being shown the inside line here. Will they make the moves? No, not into the first chicane. All cleanly through the first couple of corners. Sam's now sideways with Tucker.
How the hell did he not make contact with someone? I do not know. But most of them doing a fantastic job at avoiding that very, very sideways Aston. But as you say, Matt, it is Max Mulder leading the way from Richie Michelle, who's got the start that he wanted. And now Diz is now hunting down the back of that Ferrari. Seems like the McLaren and the Ferrari has the outright qualifying pace, but the BMW looks a lot stronger in the race. And Paul Williams up into 6th place with a decent start, as I think a few cars have dropped to the back of the grid. Who is that?
That is the 666 of Dennis Hansen and that of Gomez, who have dropped to the back. So them two was running in the midfield. Of them trying to come in together as Gomez, they're breaking on the grass almost, kicking up a lot of dirt. That would have not done him any good. And now look, we get the Jackal who's come from the back of the grid, having a look up the inside of DJ Phil into the final chicane, going up the inside. First part done, second part advantage Phil, who bounces over them little sausage curbs on the apex. That's going to compromise his running momentum out the corner. Dean Wasocki's just had a moment out the final chicane. We saw that in qualifying, and he's now lost out to that of Mark Tucker once again. But it is the BMW, Dan, like you said, of Diz, who sets the fastest lap of the race, that does seem the better race car.
It does indeed, and I think right now Robert Smith has got the best opportunity here just to let the top three just fight it out for a minute. And as well, Diz has no stress from behind. He's got his teammates, so he can purely focus on the two in front while they're too busy battling. As Max is having a moment through the chicane. This is going to be interesting because that McLaren struggles through the chicane while the BMW seems completely unfazed by it.
And a flash of the lights from John Gooday. Didn't see what happened there, but Sam got up his inside at the chicane. It all looked clean from what we saw. So Sam moves through. The Jackal past DJ Phil. He's now hunting down after Cranky Duckhead. And Dean Wasocki's now lost out to Dennis Hansen. He's got Gomez on the back of him coming in towards the last part of this, to middle part of this lap. Through that middle chicane they go. And Dean's looking at that car as we're watching Gomez. Just seems a little loose on every single corner exit. But Dan, it's the top four that are running away with this race at the moment. They are gapping S2M Borough Bex. He could be the one who sat in the prime seat in this race if them four come to blows.
Yeah, definitely so, and a lot of difference from the start of race one already, with S2M Borough Bex actually staying involved in the fight instead of being caught up with some incidents as well, as Jackal now already making a move on the Cranky Duckhead. The Honda losing another position. It seems like that the Jackal likes to attack in the final corner, and he's on his way through. The BMW once again showing how strong it is. Richie Michelle, meanwhile, is giving Max Mulder something to think about. Max looked like he was pulling away, but somehow Richie Michelle has brought that gap back down again.
Indeed it is. It's going to be interesting to see what Richie Michelle does. Robert Smith and Max Mulder can all do. Brian Craig's trying to stick with Paul Williams, who's having a great race. John Gooday trying to stick as well with Sam, but the Jackal finding his favourite overtaking spot, and that is in the final chicane. Gomez has managed to get past Dean and clear him, so Dean's clearly had a moment somewhere, while Mark Tucker and DJ Phil and Cranky Duckhead trying to stick on the back of the Jackal. Don't think this is possible. I think this is going to be more Mark Tucker attacking the back of Cranky Duckhead. He's got past Phil and he's taking Dennis Hansen with him, but the top four, Dan, the top four, are all still as close as they've been all race. And this is what you said in free practice, is it brings this close racing together. There's not the moves, but there's this gap where one mistake and it all changes.
Yeah, and I think where we're going to see that mistake is that critical first chicane, is where Max, I think, is the one that's struggling the most through there. He's bouncing a lot through the chicane. Everywhere else he seems pretty covered, but his S2M Borough Bex now start to become some pressure from his Stage 2 Motorsport teammate of Paul Williams. And suddenly that Lamborghini's come alive in race 2, as Brian Craig's right there as well. Justin Winter not miles behind, as is Sam, and John Gooday with Diego Flores right behind him as well. And the Jackal is on the move in that BMW. Meanwhile, Diz is right on the rear wing once again of Richie Michelle, who's just dropped off the back of Max ever so slightly.
Yeah, I don't think he got the best of exits out of the final chicane, and like you say, that's gave Max some breathing space. But it is Diz and Robert Smith probably sat in a great position. Borough Bex just dropped off the back of them a little bit at this stage of the race, but it is that first chicane. Let's go on board with Max Mulder here. Let's go and see how he struggles with that chicane. We'll just miss it because of the timing screens on that left hand side, but you can just see as he comes over the second part, look, actually nails it this time. It's Richie Michelle who bounced over it a little bit, but like you say, that BMW just rides it and gets over it lovely. Brian Craig now started to put Paul Williams, who's again getting within that second mark of Borough Bex.
He is indeed. Borobex just seems to not have an answer at the minute. I think the McLaren seems to struggle quite a bit in that chicane. And if you get the chicane wrong, you do lose a horrendous amount of time. No matter how much you try and get it back everywhere else, it's the key point of the circuit, as is then the chicane after as well. Everywhere else is pretty basic and simple. But either way, Esteban Borobex now starting to become a trolley train at the minute, as is Max Mulder, who's actually gapped, Richie Michel by 1.1 at the minute, with Diz just behind him. Now, the BMWs at this stage have got to start thinking smart about this, because they know that Richie Michel probably at this stage is starting to hold them up and allowing Max just to get a little bit more comfortable again.
Indeed, we're just watching the Jackal. He's gaining over Diego Flores here at the moment. John Gooday as well just in front, not able to do a lot at this stage in the race. Sam's gaining on Justin Winter, and it is Brian Craig who is right with Paul Williams at the moment. Paul Williams as well within that 6/10 now of Borobex, his teammate. And Sparking Gamer in the chat saying that Richie Michel showing when he is patient and careful, he gets paid out. Always got pace, but sometimes erratic. Smashing it, the lad. Indeed he is. He's having a cracking night. He has just dropped off the back of Max a slight bit, and Robert Smith dropped off the back of Diz just a smidgen as well. But at the moment, you have to say this is a cracking race, and wherever you look, there is a train of cars trying to come through the pack. Dennis Hansen has now got past DJ Phil and Cranky Duckhead. Gomez, the next one to try and tackle that of Cranky Duckhead as well. Going to look up the inside into the first chicane. No can do there, and it's going to be an interesting one to see what will happen in this race. Is back to Diego Flores now under pressure from the Jackal, and Dan showing the dominance of the BMW. Jackal is just ticking them off one by one at the moment.
He is indeed, and this is what I'm saying. I think the BMW is a much better race car than a qualifying car around this circuit. It's just able to be more consistent. And once again, Max Mulder took fastest lap of the race, and now the Ferrari and the BMWs are coming back once again to the back of the McLaren.
And they are indeed, and this is what's making this a little more interesting in this race.
Justin Winter and Sam are going at it, and Justin Winter's lost out, so Sam's gained the position there. I think Justin Winter went off at the final chicane, and Sam gained the position there, and not too far behind them is Justin Winter's teammate John Gooday, who was defending Constructors Champions, and I think this season it is now going the way of probably Dutch. And BSP Racing are probably going to take that away from the Greasy Bandits duo, but obviously they're going to try and fight it out as much as possible. But Max looking pretty strong out front at the minute. The BMWs now starting to just eke out a little bit. Yeah,
they are just a little bit at the moment, but it could possibly be that stage in the race where the BMW just goes a little funny, and it'll come back to the drivers in the race. The Jackal, though, within 4/10. Sam's had a moment through the first chicane. His whistle on board the Jackal. Camera panned out. Sam was in the exit gravel trap at the chicane. Didn't get caught or passed by Justin Winter. John Gooday still... he has been passed by Justin Winter now, sorry. We're still watching this three-way fight of John Gooday, Diego Flores and the Jackal. In the background, you've got Tucker coming under pressure from Dennis Hansen. So this is incredible to see here. The fact that at the moment, as John Gooday now drops the wheel onto grass, he is really struggling out there, and this could allow Diego Flores and that of the Jackal to have a look. And the Jackal's favourite overtaking spot he's got two moves done at that final chicane. Is he going to look for a third here? A little too far back at the moment for my liking, but you never know, as Richie Michel now does fastest lap. He's within 3/10 of Max Mulder, right up the rear wing.
Yeah, he has, and this has allowed Max just to this has allowed the two BMWs kind of just regroup and just back off ever so slightly, possibly waiting for something to happen here. As Max goes wide, that's going to allow a sniffing opportunity for Richie Michel up the inside going into turn 3, and he's through. He leads the race now, but he's gone a bit laggy there, and Max now is going to have a run on Richie Michel as they head towards the bumpy chicane. They're going side by side. It is Richie versus Max who's going to come out on top, and it is the Ferrari, but there is the BMW ready to pick up the pieces as Max tries to get a better run, but all three managing to survive the chicane brilliantly there, and now Michel leads this race.
And this is what we said, Dan, about that stage, this stage of the race where the BMW can come back in, but also Max making them mistakes. It's that close between the top four that one mistake can cost you and tumble you down the order, and it's Richie Michel who's gone through. Max is now in second. Yes, Smith's just a little further off the back, but at the moment Diz can now capitalise on their mistakes. Back down to Paul Williams. He has got Brian Craig all over the back of him. Still, he's all over his teammates as well as they now come towards the hairpin. Does Brian Craig think of having a look? No, he does not. Diego Flores has been gapped by John Gooday once again, but has put a little bit of daylight between himself and the Jackal, and Dennis Hansen has got past Mark Tucker, so that is a move that has been done. Into corner will now be looking to get on the back of them, although he has had that gap extended, so maybe made a mistake somewhere this lap. But Richie Michel leads this race from Max Mulder from Distan. Great opening 7 laps here. Nothing too major in terms of dramas, but a fantastic battle out front.
Yeah, but obviously now we're getting to the stage. Richie Michel has passed Max Mulder. Sometimes following a car is better than leading because you're able to see what lines they're taking. Now Richie Michel is leading. He has no reference point, so he might struggle now leading the race, and Max might come back into contention once again. Meanwhile, Diz has just been sat there patiently waiting, like he's done in the first half of the season, just waiting for his time to pounce. And I think Max just had a little twitch there over the bumps, but he's managed to get away with it. But those BMWs look planted as they go through there, as Paul Williams has lost out to Brian Craig.
He has indeed, and Diz is now looking all over the back of Max Mulder once again, coming into that second chicane, bringing Robert Smith back into it. But there you see, look, Paul Williams has lost out to Brian Craig in this race at the moment. Also, has there been a change further down? There has been. The Jackal is tumbling down the orders. What has happened to the Jackal and Diego Flores? They're behind Tucker, behind Hansen, and behind Gomez. Jackal's also behind Cranky Duckhead, so something has happened there with them too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what has happened there, but we go back to the fight to the ones in front, and this is what's happening now. Diz is now starting to fight heavily with Max, and Max not chasing forward now. He's looking in his rear view, dipping the tyre into the dirt as well. And Richie Michel with clean air and being patient, as Sparky Gamer said in the chat. He's starting to now extend that gap with fastest lap as well. Richie Michel looking very, very good here, and he just needs to pump in those lap times and stay consistent.
He was catching Diz at the end of race 1. There's a yellow flag at the top end of the circuit. That, I believe, is call 31. That is the Cranky Duckhead at the hairpin. Can't see it at the moment. Team Was Hockey's now going to try and catch Cranky Duckhead. Hopefully not too much damage to Honda. We'll try and get a glimpse of it in a moment. Max drops a wheel over the curb, coming through turn 3, and that's going to allow Diz to just get a bit of momentum into this first chicane, but he's not close enough at the moment. But let's not forget Richie Michel, Dan, on the back of Diz at the end of race 1. That's going to give him the benefit, knowing that his Ferrari got stronger as the 20 minutes went by. We know there's now 9.5 minutes till the pit window opens, so it's going to be an interesting one to see what happens.
The contact between Jackal and Diego Flores, they went into turn 1, and Flores just looked like he just didn't have any pace coming out of the corner, and the Jackal went straight into the back of him, waited for the Porsche, and he got going. Obviously with that, he lost out to the next car of the Cranky Duckhead, and he gave him plenty of space to get past him there. But yeah, just a little bit of coming together in turn 1. Only those two involved though, so it's a good thing that they come away from that unscathed. But Max still under some pressure from Diz, but Richie Michel's not really pulling away at this stage.
So just going to look at the Honda. Honda looks absolutely fine, apart from the fact it's bunny hopped over the first chicane. So is Cranky Duckhead just struggling with something out there? And like you say, them top 3 at the moment, them top 4, just starting to spread out a little bit. We drop back to Borough Bex, who's got Brian Craig, Paul Williams in a little train here. Sam's on the back of Justin Winter, and John Gooday now coming under pressure from that of Dennis Hansen in this race. And going to be an interesting one to see, like you say, Dennis Hansen under the mentorship of Michael Eckholt, who is been outstanding. Let's be honest, if he was here for the start of this season, he'd be right in this championship fight with himself and Clouden. But tutoring Dennis Hansen as Dennis going to go around the outside of John Gooday. John dropped a wheel on the curb, saw that Aston Martin just bounce a little bit, and I think that's where John's losing out, just looking at running over the curb. I don't think that Aston is set up to ride the curbs very well in John's hands.
Yeah, I don't, and I think that's a lot of the problem that John's struggling with at the minute. It's just, again, confidence in Aston. He just doesn't seem to have the confidence to just push as hard as the guys around him. And the one man he probably wanted to have a chat with about that is probably Alex, who's been away recently and hopefully will be back for the Winter Championship. But yeah, but Alex somehow managed to get that Aston Martin hooked up, and maybe next season that could be the car to possibly look to be quite good with the bot introduced.
Indeed so. Naval Gomez has just got up the inside of Mark Tucker, so that is job done. And Paul Williams here, look at this train behind Borough Bex at the moment. We said Borough Bex might be the one to capitalise on the top 4 making mistakes. Well, it's Borough Bex, who is under immense pressure from Brian Craig, from his teammate Paul Williams, and he's got Justin Winter, who's bringing Sam along for the ride at the moment as well. So Interesting fights up and down this order, and the top three are all about within 0.6 of a second of each other as well, with Robert Smith not a million miles away. So this is interesting to see at the moment.
Oh, Max has just gone on the dirt ever so slightly. Robert Smith has dropped right off the back of these, but Max is getting really interested once again with Richie Michelle, but Diz also running wide as well. So these three starting to get a little bit hot-headed.
Yep, just starting to push the limits a little more now, maybe, is Max Mulder. Now, we're watching Brian Craig at the moment, having a good little fight. Drop back to Justin Winter and Sam. They're not really close together at the moment, but Brian Craig's got a good run through turn 3. I tell you what, he's pulled out to have a look towards that first chicane. Burrow-Bex comes across. They're off. Burrow-Bex is in the wall. And it looked like Burrow-Bex come across the front of Brian Craig just a little bit there to try and defend him. I think he's defended too late. And I believe he's getting going. He is, yeah. He's got going.
I'm looking at that back again.
I would.
I'm on the impression that I think Brian Craig might have assisted that a little bit more than he should have.
Dan, you watch the replay. Let's find out your view on that one. Then you'll be able to see the other angles of chase cam and everything there. So you'll be able to get a better angle of that, but that is not what Paul Williams wants, as Max not staying in the slipstream of Richie Michelle, but pulling out of it a little bit. Is that to let his tyres just cool a little bit? Track temp has gone up to 30 degrees, still very, very cloudy here today. One thing we haven't mentioned tonight is if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button if you like what you see here, and don't forget to hit the bell to be notified as well. Go into our description and make sure you check out our two fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester, producers of vinyl graphics, laser engraved gifts, mugs, printed clothing and much more, including SimPlay Motorsport merchandise. Head over to their Facebook page for all their information, as well as check out Audiosport, the manufacturer of VW Transporter, T4 audio solutions and styling products. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk, or as well check out their Facebook group. Links are in the description if you want to get involved with all anything here to do with SimPlay Motorsport, whether it's in the background, whether it's on the circuit. Make sure you join us on the Discord as Max gets a little squirrely coming out the second chicane. That's lost all the momentum that he had on the back of Richie Michelle, and that's brought Diz back into play. And look at these three. Robert Smith has just dropped off here. He's 2.7 behind, and these three are so close. This is great racing at the moment. And we say these three, you've then got Brian Craig, Paul Williams, Justin Winter, Sam right there, as well as Dennis Hansen has cleared that of John Gooday, and John Gooday's been repassed by Burrow-Bex.
Yeah, so I was looking back onto the replays, and as I thought, it was more Brian Craig who turned into SO and Burrow-Bex, probably a last-minute dart out, and as he obviously trying to correct what he was doing, he ended up just making contact at the back of SO and Burrow-Bex. So if anything, I think that's in the hands of Brian Craig, I'm afraid.
There we go then. Obviously Dan Davis with the replays can check all the camera angles available to him. Pit window opens in not a lot of time here. Max again just running a bit more curb on the inside of turn 2, just kicking up the dust and not dropping it wide this time on the exit of turn 3. The top three though within a second of each other, and this is great racing from all three of them. But watch Max through this first chicane. There you go again, look, just hits it too hard, and the McLaren just getting a little unsettled compared to the other cars, down to Justin Winter, who's got Sam right there. Paul Williams as well on the back of Brian Craig. Fights wherever you look in this race tonight, Dan.
Yeah, very much so, and obviously this is what happens when we have a nice cool conditions here. Track temp's not overly hot as well with the 30 degrees. Oh, Justin Winter and Sam have come together, and that's going to allow Dennis Hansen to have a great run, and Sam stopped. So Sam are thinking that Justin Winter may have been caught up with them two, tripping over one another. Sam not wanting to overtake, and Dennis Hansen hits the back of Sam, and a little bit messy from those guys there, and that's going to allow S2M Burrow-Bex and Gooday to get onto the back of him, with Gomez not a million miles away from them either. But yeah, Diz meanwhile has lost quite a bit of time to the top two here. Well, I say a bit, he's actually gained back on them. It was a second, it's now 6/10, so they seem to be ebbing and flowing between each sector, these three. They
do indeed. The Jackals managed to get ahead of Diego Flores. That is that move done in this race, but like you say, bit of a coming together there. Brian Craig still now just gapping, it looks, slightly over Paul Williams in this race. Justin Winter well ahead now of Sam after that little moment. But a lot of dirt being kicked up here. But wherever you look, there seems to be cars pretty close to each other. There is Sam and Dennis Hansen just in the background. Burrow-Bex, Gooday, Naval Gomez, like we said. Mark Tucker's not a million miles behind him. And Cranky Duckhead getting close to the back of that of DJ Phil, who He's on his last appearances this season because he's away in Switzerland next week, so will not be there for the GT4s or the GT3s, the driver who's made the most race starts at SimPlay Motorsport. This is 376, DJ Phil. Yes, we can catch you. We can pull 2 back. Yes, get in. So yeah, it's a shame DJ Phil will be able to finish the season, but he's off to Switzerland on holiday, so hopefully he enjoys that.
Some might be able to gain 4 on him.
Oh yeah, people like Gary, Argent,
Clouden,
Dean,
Goudet.
Clouden, yeah, they're way behind. Clouden's only just on 50.
How many am I behind? Oh, I'm pretty much 100 behind.
You're nearly 100 behind, yeah. Yeah. So them two you'll pull back next week, yeah.
And I'm 7th on the list. Oh, no, 6th.
Sixth on the sixth on the all-time list for race starts. Peaceful Explosion will make his 300th next week in race 1. So yeah, interesting night of action as Max Mulder within 6 tenths, Diz back within 7 tenths, Paul Williams still within that half a second margin of Brian Craig. We've got Dennis Hansen still on the back of Sam. It's Cranky Duckhead who's still on the back of DJ Phil. This for 16th and 17th. They are well clear of Dean Wasocki by near enough a sector. So Dean struggling in this race, but these two having a good little scrap here then. Let's go back up to Sam and Dennis Hansen a moment, because this battle will be an interesting one to keep our eyes on, as they are probably going to try and pull in that of Justin Winter in front.
I think what's going to happen at the front of the pack now is pit stops. One driver is going to pit, and the others are going to have to react, and the one that's in the really good position for that is actually Robert Smith. Being 3.2 behind, he can then really just nurse his tyres and look after them, and then really attack the in-lap if he decides to do the pit window. But he has to make sure that when he does pit, he comes into clean air, which the pit window will open in about 30 seconds time. And Max Mulder once again under some pressure by Diz. But the other problem they're going to start having is just up ahead is Dean Wasocki, a lapped car, and let's see how easily Dean will move to one side for these guys. But Richie Michelle will not want any traffic whatsoever. If I was Robert Smith, I would have dived into pits, and he does so. And he's nailed that.
That is probably pitch perfect for Robert Smith. Are we going to see any of the others come in? I reckon, that Max and Diz would have got into the pit lane as well, because Smith's got in there, 12 seconds after the pit window's open? So I reckon that the top 3 all could have pitted, but
just as you do as well, Matt, you would always question, wouldn't you? Where can I bid? Not sure what you mean by that. But I think the thing is, though, especially with you, Matt, and myself, when you're in a race in a situation, you always second guess yourself when the pit window is actually going to open.
You do.
So if you make that commitment, you've got to be pretty sure. And maybe Max and Diz probably in a situation now and thinking, we're in a chance for a great win. Let's just stick to what we know, not make that mistake and end up losing time.
Also,
they didn't actually get...
To add to your pit stop thing as well, you remember a couple of seasons ago, myself, yourself, De Silva, all within a similar car length of these 3, came into the pits. One car was slower than the other.
Max!
There was a little tap. Is what happened, Dan?
That was very, very loose from both of them. And Diz is probably sitting there thinking, I'm going to pit. Max is probably sitting there, I'm going to pit. And then Richie Michelle is going to think, sod it, I'm going to pit as well. But Robert Smith has pitted. He has gone green. That would have slowed these 3 down. And that's given Robert Smith a prime opportunity to get the jump. And will they all pit? The other thing is they've got to react.
Diz is in. But
that's the problem with this pit entry.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. That is the problem. He had to hit the brakes hard to not hit Max and Richie Michelle to get himself in the pit lane. But he's in. I like this call from Diz. It's going to be interesting to see. Bid money on the drivers. He needs to nail the stop.
You can't really bid on drivers, sadly, but you can donate to the channel.
Donate to the
but
channel.
Other than that,
not sure. Really?
I think Richie Michelle needs to react. But whatever he does, he's in a very difficult situation now. Who does he react to? Does he react to the McLaren of Max, or does he react to the BMW of Diz? Max's choice now. I think he's just got to push Michelle and get that clean air from genuinely just trying to put some pressure on him.
I think Richie Michelle, if Richie Michelle reacts to Diz, we know the undercut seems on ACC pretty strong at most circuits. I think that if you react to Diz, you possibly lose out to Diz, but if you've undercut Max, will possibly gain that time. The interesting one we're going to see is Robert Smith has exited the hairpin. He's now coming down towards that final chicane. We know Diz is pretty much on pit lane exit, isn't he? He's pretty much on the very end garage as you enter the pits. But
Well,
Robert Smith is now
is exit the final
halfway
corner.
down the start line. Diz is off the limiter. And what was it? It was about 3.5 seconds, Diz to Robert Smith.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that stayed roughly a similar gap.
Yeah, roughly similar there. Now, the thing is, does Max or Richie... No, they don't respond.
Well,
they do not respond to Diz.
Let me
but
point
where
something
has
else
Diz
out
come
to you.
out?
Let me put... This is what I'm about to point out to you. If they're running the full track map on their screen, they may have just noticed that Diz has came out behind behind DJ Phil and Cranky Duckhead, battling themselves for position themselves. Diz is now in a bit of bother.
He is, but as soon as he clears these guys, that's the clean air he needs. But they're not wanting to get out the way because they're in their own little fight. So Diz has to be patient. He can't force his way through here. He needs to pick them through. Justin Winter now pits, but DJ Phil's off. The Cranky Duckhead is not moving out of the way. And to be fair, it's not the easiest place. I don't know where DJ Phil's gone. He's gone off to Valencia already. But Diz slowly trying to work his way, and Cranky Duckhead is still not getting out of the way.
Well, he doesn't have to get out of the way, Dan. This is for position, so it's hurting Cranky's race, but it's hurting Diz and
course it is.
Robert Smith's race more. So
for some reason.
No, this is for position. This is what I'm saying. So Max and Richie may have seen that and gone, do you know what? If we keep going here, we're going to pull a gap over Diz. Diz has got to get past Cranky Duckhead. Cranky has not got to move out of their way at this moment in the race. Justin Winter currently now in the pit lane, as is Dean Wysocki, and Diz comes through to pass Justin Winter and retake our position, but he's still on the back of Cranky. He's getting hampered massively here as the Jackal has got past Mark Tucker as well. He's moving through the order once again.
But the top two still not pitted. What's the lap times? I'm going to try and find out actually. Lap times. So Richie Michelle crossing the line. He does a 30.0 and Max does a 30.9. While Diz's last lap, he's obviously his in lap, but
no, that was
Diz
his first
still
flyer.
Can't find a way through. No,
it was his lap. Yeah. Apologies.
So he's now up the inside of Cranky, but this is holding him up. Robert Smith, who was 3 seconds back, is now back on the back of his teammate.
Yeah.
So right now, what was Cranky doing? Cranky is, where is he? That'll give me a better indication. His last lap was a 32.7,
yeah.
2 seconds slower than the leaders. Diz is being holed up big time.
Look at where the leaders are. First chicane. Where's Diz? Just gone through the second chicane.
Oh, Max is off!
Max has had a moment. In the wall.
In the wall.
Did he hit the wall? How hard? It doesn't look too bad.
He grazed it.
We'll take a look when we get to see the other side of the car. The front right looks pretty fine. Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's just a little bit of bodywork damage to that car. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad at all. This will be the better camera. We see a bit of damage, a bit of scrapes on the front splitter. Nothing bad at all there from Max Mulder, but that will hurt him. Will it hurt him over Diz, though, who is still, look, flashing his lights at Cranky. Diz is still behind Cranky. He cannot get past at the moment.
He cannot, no. And like I said, Richie Michelle last time round was a 30.0. Diz was a 31.4.
He's got past him now.
Robert Smith. Yeah, Robert Smith was even quicker as well. He's a 30.4. How quickly is he going to pass Cranky? He does it straight away. So Robert Smith catches and passes him pretty quickly, while Richie Michelle is near enough on his fastest, a 29.8 last lap for him. And I believe Max Mulder has decided to box, but he might end up very much with the two BMWs because they've been held up massively by the Honda.
It may have been. So let's see how much Max lost with that moment. They've just come through the first chicane, and this gives really now, with Max Mulder having that spin and them two being held up, that gives Richie Michelle a prime opportunity at some good points in this race. Max Mulder and Dennis Hansen now in the pit lane, as comes Naval Gomez. The Jackal will stay out. Mark Tickle will also stay out. Diego Flores and Cranky Duckhead himself left to pit. Borough Beck's on the back of Justin Winter. No, he's not. He's ahead of Justin Winter. He's on the back of Brian Craig at the moment. But where is Diz? This is the one really to keep our eyes on. Where Diz is over Max Mulder. Well, coming to that final chicane comes Diz now. 30 minutes left in this race, and Max has got to go green just before they enter this final chicane. He's not. So is this a change of tyres for Max Mulder as he goes green now?
He does go green, and also don't forget he's got damage as well that he has to repair. Possibly on top of that, he was at the end of the pit lane as well, so this is still going to be very close to the BMWs. He's now coming to the exit as Diz will just jump him, but I think he's going to be side by side with Robert Smith, and Max splits them.
What just slots in, so that spin for Max hurt him more than it did.
Richie Michelle straight away in.
At the moment, Richie reacting to Max Mulder now, and so this is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on, with not only Max Mulder and Robert Smith and Diz, but also where Richie Michelle comes out. So if we go on board Richie Michelle at the moment, he's still coming down his pit lane. How far down the pit lane is his box? With the looks of this, he's pulling in now. It is towards the bottom end of the garages. Yeah, it's within the first 4 or 5 garages, so he's got a pretty close exit to that pit limiter, so it's about where Diz can be, but he's now also already on the defensive from Max Mulder.
Yeah, but Robert Smith is right there to give him backup if need be. If only Sergio Perez was as good a teammate as Robert Smith is right now, because Max Mulder, yes, he's attacking Diz, but he's got the headache of Robert Smith right behind him. And imagine if these two were actually partnered from the very start of the season, what damage they could have done to BSP, because look at them in this race. They're looking mighty.
They've been absolutely fantastic. Don't forget, you kind of
Richie
need
Michelle
to be.
still hasn't gone yet.
He is. He's, yeah, you're right. Gone now.
He's now gone
Diz
green.
Coming through the chicane. I think Richie's off the limiter. I think Richie's comfortably cleared them there. I think he has comfortably got past them.
Yeah, all he has to do now is survive the next couple of corners, try and get tyre temperature and pressure straight away, and as he comes back out on track, Diz is behind, but it is about, what, 3.2, maybe a little bit more, 4 seconds behind, but Richie Michelle, it's very easy to get complacent on your own.
Dennis Hansen, good move up the inside. No, outbreaks himself. Dale $8 short. Has to cut the final chicane. That'll have to be the place given back to Sam. Surely there, and he does oblige to that one. And through back goes Sam. My Matthew saying that I don't think Max changed tyres in the chat. It's going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. You're right, Dan. Look, 4 seconds just under is the gap. Diz to Richie Michelle. So what has happened for Richie Michelle is he needs to take Cranky Duckhead out for a beer, because he has done him a favour.
We're talking about the Honda, but right now, Richie Michelle's got his own problem. He's stuck behind DJ Phil, who's trying to lap. So and DJ Phil not making it easy right now.
And how many corners is that DJ Phil's been given? The blue flags!
Richie Michelle even had a high amount because he's missed the apex of the corner, and DJ Phil nearly undercut him. So I think Diz might be having to give DJ Phil a beer at this rate.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen at the moment. DJ Phil there. Well, he won't want a penalty this week, 'cause he's 1 point away from a qualifying ban. And let's not forget, the new rule of this season was you carry your bans into the next season now, so it makes your final race of the year that little bit more tricky as to whether you carry that ban into the new season. We're not sure if that's GT4 affected, because the rule might be changing in terms of penalty points for support races over the main series. Obviously, Torlax is one at the moment. That'll be up for discussion between the admins, but in the GT3s for sure, if you get yourself that ban, you can bet your bottom dollar that that'll be carried through into the next race. Diz now gaining on the back of DJ Phil in towards turn 3. Is Phil going to oblige and move out the way by the chicane? No, he's on the racing line, and he's forced Diz to go up the inside here.
And he's racing him as well. He's going into the corner side by side of him.
Oh, he's nearly chopped the nose off Max!
He's getting right in the way in this championship fight. Well, I say championship fight. He's getting right in the way in this race win fight, and Robert Smith probably got the easiest end of the deal with that one.
Again, same as the Cranky Duckhead deal. He just comes straight through the inside and takes the position. DJ Phil, normally one of them drivers that pulls right off the circuit.
Well, earlier on, when they were racing, he jumped straight out of the way. When it comes to the blue flags, he's got right in the way.
The Jackal now on the back of John Gooday. This is for P12 and 13, and the Jackal just in that stronger BMW, you feel, in this race. Everybody has done their pit stop 3 minutes after. It's a shame we lost Romeo due to internet problems in this race.
Robert Smith.
There's Jackal now. John's over the first chicane. Apologies, Jackal has a wiggle. They're coming up and over the brow of the hill. Jackal's going to try and go around the outside of this little kink before the second chicane. Can't get it done. Tucks back in behind. What happened, Dan?
Robert Smith just got very late on the brakes and got really close to the back of Max. Max probably holding his breath as they went through there, but yeah, looks like Max is really starting to struggle with that BMW behind him.
Yeah, looks like it indeed. Diz 2.5 to Richie Michelle. Back to the Jackal and John Gooday. Cameraman's not picking them up yet, so we'll just wait for them to come a little further down the straight. There they are. Jackal at his favourite overtaking spot. Is he going to look up the inside line? No, he's not close enough to John Gooday this time around. It's been a great hour-long race with 25 minutes left to go. There has been action every second of this race.
Yeah, very much so, and I think at the minute Richie Michel has just had that cool head and has been very much in control of this race. Did lose the race lead straight away, but then regained it back from Max, and at this stage, whatever they seem to throw at him, he has an answer. But Diz at the minute starting to match him, and I think Diz is a much more bigger threat than Max, because Max just couldn't do anything behind him. But obviously the BMW seems to be better at following cars.
Yeah, it does indeed. At this stage of the race, currently watching the fight between John Gooday and that of the Jackal. Down the first straight, they come towards the first chicane. Turns 4 and 5. Hard on the brakes into it as John Gooday not bouncing off the curb as much this time, so managing to get it stopped. Sam is coming under pressure from Dennis Hansen. That's coming towards the hairpin, and Robert Smith still within a second of Max Mulder. And Diz has that gap down to 2.5. To 2.1, sorry, from 2.5 to Richie Michel, so he's closed a couple more tenths. And Jekyll just running a little wider onto the gravel. Jekyll, I tell you what, it's a shame he's not done every race. We know he's not able to take part in the race ones, that's why he signed up and let us know that he couldn't do that. But when he's been here in the race twos, he has been a driver that hasn't qualified strong but has raced well.
Yeah, he's definitely got the race pace and the race craft to go with it as well. But like I said, it's just a shame he hasn't been able to do the entire season. But hopefully he might be able to arrange something next season. But nonetheless, it's been a fantastic drive from Jack Holt, and we'll see what else he can still do in this race. Diz brought the gap down to 1.8 now, so that gap is coming down very quickly.
It is indeed, as Jack will look to make a move up the inside at the final chicane, but John stayed strong and stayed ahead in that one. Then as he just clipping the wrong curbs, and that Aston, I said it earlier, it doesn't look great when it's going over the curbs in John Gooday's hands. Jackal is all over the back of him here through this early part of the lap, tries to tuck underneath, now gets a good run, no, can't get alongside, thinks better of it, especially with it being the outside line into the first chicane. He now jinks left, jinks right, is he going to look up the inside now? Brakes earlier, trying to distract John as Diz Dan sets the fastest lap and takes another 3/10 out of Richie Michel.
Yeah, Robert Smith meanwhile has just dropped off the back of Max, so they've all just strung out a little bit up front, so it's a little bit stable at this stage. But John Goudet though is under some pressure. Pit window has now gone and everyone has served their pit stops, which is good to see. And yeah, the man I'm also going to mention who's had a pretty quiet race but a very good one at that is Paul Williams. The Lamborghini looked like it was struggling, and he's in P5, had a quiet race, but nonetheless he has managed to stay in front of his good friend Sam, who's part of Team FBR. And obviously we do miss a lot of the FBR boys. It would be nice to see a lot of them back next season if they possibly can, and with it being winter, most likely they'll be returning back to the grid.
Just to put in, Dan, sorry, Jackal going up the inside of John Gooday, final chicane once again. He's where he's made most of his moves, can't get the run out the exit though, and John once again hangs on to that one.
Could you imagine a season in Pro where we had all of our top guys in the championship? We'd had the likes of Ripper, Overtaker, De Silva, yourself, myself, Sully, RB, who else onto that list? Overtaker, and obviously Eckholt now.
Clouden.
Imagine
Eckholt.
Clouden.
Yeah. Alex.
Alex, yeah. Mike Matthews occasionally there as well last season. He was contender for the championship. Yeah. You laugh. Yeah. He did nearly win the championship, and he nearly lost. I nearly lost it. Ben, you got your 14-year-old Ben,
yes. You know, in the race as well. Yeah, it would be a fantastic grid. Will Friedman of recent weeks has looked pretty racy as well up the top order of the grid. So,
and then you add to the likes of Max Mulder now, Sky Shundermeyer as well,
Tim
Venting, and Richie Michel, Diz,
Robert Smith.
You know, all these. Yeah, Robert Smith probably just on the mid pack of all that. Yeah. And imagine that for a pro grid. It would be the ultimate season you'd ever seen. But sadly, Ripper moving to PC, Sully very busy at the minute as well, and you know, some of the FBR boys really focusing on other things at the minute, which is I said, obviously with the way the summer season has panned out, that's what tends to happen. But nonetheless, we've had an enjoyable season and some fantastic drivers. We just need them all to come back for an ultimate season. It's
going to be a fantastic one to see next year as well. Like you say, 5-week break, week shorter than normal. That's already been discussed by the admins in the admin chat, due to the fact we'd have had our usual 6-week break. The final Pro-Am race would have been Christmas Day. The final Pro race would have been Boxing Day. I don't think a few of us are free them days. So, yeah, to keep the 12-week calendar, It is that way. As well as, let's not forget, let's mention this while there's a bit of a lull in the race at the moment. PN Motorsport, he's no longer an admin at SimPlay Motorsport, still a steward at the channel. Because he's our only patron, Mark Tucker's in the pit lane. What's that for? We'll come back to the patron thing in a moment. He's got damage on the front, so that is why he is in the pit lane. Diz within 0.4 of a second, and Max Mulder now takes the fastest lap of the race. But with PM being a Patreon, Dan, this is a part of the Patreon service that's offered. He gets a track selection for next year. That will be locked in.
Yeah. And as well, you guys do want to sign up to the Patreon, you will get benefits from it, and we're always introducing new benefits from the Patreon. So if you do want to become a Patreon, obviously your money does go towards helping the channel out as much as we possibly can. It's only £3, it's nothing crazy, but we do then allow us to give us more opportunities to give more races, more servers, and possibly new commentators and stuff like that, so that we're able to give you more racing as well. But yeah, with that in mind, with the admin teams and obviously the one Patreon will get a choice of circuit, when they're going to suddenly see loads of people become Patreons and put votes in for circuits. Yeah, Diz meanwhile is really hustling the back of Richie Michelle.
Just showing that BMW has grown in this race, doesn't it? Sam's got within a second now of Paul Williams. John Gooday has now been overtaken by the Jackal. That move's done, I'm seeing on the timing screens here. Mark Tucker is out the pit lane then. And yeah, Diz and now Haas in the back. Max has took more time out of them. He's took some 0.6 in the first two sectors out of these two, so got that fastest lap of the race, and is now just showing what his McLaren can do later in this race. 18 minutes to go. I don't think this one is over between the top three yet.
I would say top four. I still think Robert Smith has got an outside chance to get them. If anything happens to all three of them, just takes Max to get a little bit too close to the two in front making contact. But Diz has been reliably clean this season, so I think Diz will only make the move if he really thinks he can get the job done. And the Richie Michelle, I think now, let's see how much oh, Diz, jeez, that was a big snap, and that's the first time we've seen the BMW just crumble a little bit.
Is it that crumbling, or is it Diz really trying to push every ounce of limitation from this BMW? Because he's really, I tell you what, the driver of the day is a tough one, because Richie Michelle and Diz have both had class races. I know he's only done race 2. Jackal has made some moves in this one. He's a shout. As well as Paul Williams in the for driver of the day as well. But you're right, Sam and Dennis Hansen, they're at it now as well.
Dennis Hansen's come from the back of the pack, reminder. He got caught up in the first lap, and he's made a recovery back up to 7th. We go back to Richie Michelle and Diz, which the gap was less than 0.3. And as the camera for me is panning around, Diz is right there, and one mistake from Richie Michelle, then Diz is going to pounce, but Diz has made a mistake himself.
Yeah, he's gone deep. He's just outbraked himself a little bit, has a twitch and a bit of a bounce over the chicane. This is going to give Max Mulder the big opportunity now. Is this the BMW tyres maybe going off? So Mike's saying that Max didn't change tyres. Did Diz change tyres? That's going to be the problem as Max nearly into the back of him. He now goes wide at turn 1. And this is what you mean, Dan. Robert Smith could still win this race if the top 3 make mistakes.
Yeah, but Richie Michelle, though, that's cool.
Yeah, cool, calm, collected at the moment. Dennis Hansen still stuck behind Sam. The Checkel's already pulled 3.3 seconds over John
They're coming
Good.
to lap Dean Wasocki again as well, so this could get spicy. But Dean last time out did jump straight out of the way and was no hindrance, so hopefully that will happen again. But right now, these all four of them can still win this race. And if anything really does bad happen, then Paul Williams is in the box seat. But unlikely to happen. But yeah, the top 4 still going at it. Zolder probably giving us one of the best races this season.
I'd agree with you as well. And it's not been overly... I know we've only had 18 cars on the grid, but it's been pretty clean as well, hasn't it? You know, so fair play to Zolder for that. Richie Michelle not yet on the back of Dean Wasocki. Gaps have come down to a 1.5 seconds between all of the drivers. Paul Williams has now got Sam within a second of him, with Dennis Hansen there as well. Brian Craig's a further 5 seconds back. So there's them 3 coming through the first chicane. Watch the Jackal though, 11 seconds to Gomez. See if that comes down any at all, as coming down the start line is Dean Wasocki. He's now being flashed, and that's the first blue flag we've seen for Dean. Don't forget, he's got up to 3 corners to get out the way. That is corner number 1. Richie Michelle not close enough at the moment, but Dean will now be aware he's dropped it. Just double check further back that he's not coming to any
He
harm.
stayed still.
Yeah, he stayed still. He's done the right thing there. And we can all now sigh a breath of relief because at least, well, I know he's dropped it out the way, but, you know, unlike DJ4, he's not blocked the leaders.
Richie Michelle a little bit twitchy through turn 3, and again Diz has brought that gap down. So as they've all just calmed down a little bit, Paul Williams is now under some pressure from Sam and Dennis Hansen, who's also caught them as well. So we look to the front for the fight, and then we look to slightly further behind for the kind of best of the rest. And Paul Williams is now starting to become some pressure.
Diz within half a second now of Richie Michelle. Robert Smith just losing out to the top 3 once again. So Diz back there on that lead car. Max Mulder just over a second behind Diz. They come through sector 2. Half a second is that gap once again. 14 minutes left in this race. And what a race it's been. What a day Zolder's been. It brought us great racing in the GT4s last night. It's bringing us great action again here. Pro will hopefully be another bell to the 113. That is Gomez, who is off down the... where's that? That's turn 2. He's had a big moment. And that's put the Jackal up into 11th place. So that's his easiest overtake of the day. But it's another one done. And John Gooday might fancy his chances as well. Justin Winters gaining on Bora Bex. Dennis Hansen as Paul Williams has opened the gap up over Sam. But it is 0.2 of a second. And it is now the Diz who's going to have a look on the inside in towards turn 2. No, backs out of it. Calm down.
Well, that did look like a very good opportunity for him, and he just decided, you know, nope, not here, not now, and he's just going to have to wait for that pure, perfect time to get through.
Yeah, he is. And while he's doing this and he's struggling to get through, Max is attacking. That's now up to down to 0.6 of a second as well. So, really is anybody. I think Robert Smith is just dropping out of this lead battle. Unless an incident happens, I don't think Robert Smith is going to win this race. I think it is genuinely down to the top 3. As look at them, it is, you could pretty much, it is, they're towing each other along. They are absolutely pulling each other along here. Down the beautiful scenery around this Zolder circuit. Diz, Richie Michelle from Diz, from Max, and what a race this is turning out to be.
Hats off to Richie Michelle for absorbing all of this pressure. There's a lot, and if he drops it right at the end, there's going to be heartbreak. But we have got 12.5 minutes still left to go. 12.5 minutes still to go, and they're still racing this hard. It's going to be fascinating to see who wins. Meanwhile,
and
Sam and Hansen are still going at it as well.
This has been relentless for the hour. Bar the pit stops, where there was a bit of a breath, this has been relentless for the entire hour. These 4 have been at it for an hour. They're now gapping Robert Smith a little more while in this train. The 31 has now had a moment. That's a yellow flag for the cranky... Oh no, Paul Williams!
Oh God, what's happened?
He's off. He cannot turn that car. Cranky has returned to the pits. The 180s now. Oh, that is the 180. Apologies. The 68 of Sam is through. Dennis is through. Brian Craig has gone. Borough Bex is in the pit lane as well. Justin Winters there. Did Paul Williams return to pit lane? No, he's still trying to drive it there. Jackal gains yet another place. This could help Dean Wasocki in his 250th gain a couple of places as well. But Paul Williams was in such a good spot. But the top 3, they're all within 0.2 of each other. Max is now within 1/10 of the Diz. They're looking up the inside of the hairpin. No good there. What racing this is at Zolder today. This is fantastic.
It is fantastic. And oh no, I've just seen what happened. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Big one.
Wow. No wonder Paul Williams can't drive that car.
If you save that clip on the PlayStation, you can send it me on the PlayStation Messenger, and I'll take a look. And might even be able to get it up on the stream. Hopefully, we'll see if we'll be able to stream that to you from the message of Dan later after the race. But that sounds like it was a big one. Max Mulder is now pushing Diz through turn 2 here. This is getting interesting.
Paul Williams went airborne. Let's just put it that way.
Wow.
big time, and Sam had nowhere to go. Neither did Hansen. I've never seen.
Oh, here we go. Oh, here we
like
go.
that.
Apologies, Dan. Richie Michel fending off Diz, fending off Max. And how they don't make contact into turn one, I don't know. Michel's over the first chicane. Here comes Diz with Max Mulder as well. And it's Diz who looks like he's going to take the lead of this race. Yes, he does. Through goes the 75 BMW. And Max Mulder still stays third. Back comes Michel up the inside. And now Diz on the AstroTurf. He's looking around the outside. Mulder's going to try and get up the inside of Diz. Can't do it through there. What a race this is turning out to be.
Max has got a great run.
Oh no, Gomez!
Oh my God! And Richie Michel's gone straight on.
Richie Michel's off, and that's put the top two through. He's going to come on before Robert Smith. And Robert Smith's now going to get the run. And Robert Smith's now onto the podium, is he? Yes, he is!
Yes, he is! After all of that, Richie Michel has a slight hiccup because Gomez is in the middle of the circuit and he drops from the lead to 4th place, but it's still on. Max Mulder still could go and attack for the lead of this race.
This is absolutely unreal as Smith chops across the nose. That is a duffing chop if I have ever seen one. It was a great move, Mike, from Richie at the chicane, but I cannot believe that he's outbraked himself at the hairpin. What a race. This has been an intense battle for the whole entire hour, and at the moment you have to feel for Richie Michel a little bit there. One mistake, but this is racing, this is motorsport, this is what we come to watch. That deserves a like and subscribe to the channel. Who's in the wall?
Smith.
Oh no, he's out of this
damage.
race! He's out of this battle for the podium! This could give Dennis Hansen a P4 depending on where he is on the track. He's crossing the start line, and within the last 2 minutes, within the last 2 laps, it has all turned on its head for this race lead.
Brian Craig's now pressurising Sam, who they're not a million miles away from Hansen. Brian Craig sending it up the inside of Sam now.
That's a flash of the lights. John Goodey straight out the way of Diz, and Max Mulder does not want a part of that.
Back to race 1 rivals back again. Diz and Max Mulder fight for the race win, but Richie Michel, you've got to feel sorry for him. He took all of the pressure, and one little heart attack from Gomez and puts him off, distracts him, and that is his race. I don't know if it's done, but he's going to be difficult to bring it back now unless these two have anything to say about it.
These two need to have a squabble. Dean Wasoki's up to 15th place. He's passed Williams, he's passed Borobex, he's passed Cranky Duckhead, and Naval Gomez is in the pits. That could be another position for Dean to go up to 14th place, who's had no pace. He's had mistakes himself, but that's why we encourage drivers to stay in the race, Dan, isn't it? Dean has had a terrible night, let's be honest. He could finish with P14. That's why you stay in this race. The Jackal, back of the grid, qualifying ban, 9th place.
Anything can happen in racing, and as you can see, Robert Smith hits the wall, and he's going to lose a lot of performance now as Dennis Hansen not really catching him either. But Robert Smith seems to have enough to go in for him. But if he keeps going, if he had retired by now, he would have lost 4th place position. But right now he's still going, and he's able to keep it in front of the guys behind. But meanwhile, Max Mulder within 2/10 once again of Diz. It is down to these two, and Max, as always this season, has been pressurising him like mad. We look back to Brands Hatch as Goudet has got a track limits drive-through. So John, trying to get out of the way of these lot, ends up getting a drive-through. But back to Brands Hatch when these two were going at it, and Diz got caught up in an incident with another car, and Max gave him the race win. They've been brilliant all season, and they're back once again at the front.
They are back with it once again. John Goodey, track limits, drive-through penalty, isn't it? Goes from bad to worse. What an evening this has been. Same reason I love putting the time into admin all of this with the others. This is what it's about, says Mike Matthews. This is what it is about. Tracy saying this is why I watch these races. This is why we all watch these races. Oh no, Dennis Hansen could have got a 4th. He's got a drive-through penalty. He's
done that twice now. He's managed to survive the majority of this race, which was more than 20 minutes, and just with 5 minutes left of the race, he ends up getting a drive-through. That's going to really put a smile on Sam and Brian Craig's face.
You cannot make this up. If this isn't worth dropping a subscribe and hitting that like button, we are fast approaching. We're 15 subscribers away from that 350 mark, as Max did attack into turn 1. Backs out of it though. The first chicane, sorry, in the chicane, apologies. Here we go. We've got 5.5 minutes of non-stop Max Mulder. Attack, attack, attack. This is going to be full attack from him now.
It is going to be full attack, and Richie Michel no pace now. He's just dropped well off. And he's got no answer to these two as these two Diz gone wide! He's in the wall!
He's in the wall! Oh, he's airborne! He's on his side! Max Zolder will be champion and will do it with a race win. Diz cannot turn.
Robert Smith is getting up on the podium.
Well, I don't believe it.
Oh my God.
You cannot make this up. It is not over for Max Zolder. 5.2 to Michelle. But you just feel that there could be a mistake here. What has Diz done as Sam and Brian Craig are pressurising each other? That gap is... There has been drama from the first second of this race. It has been all action. Paul Williams and Borough Becks with huge damage still in the pit lane.
Oh, Diz has to pit.
He's got to. He's got to pit. And the worst thing is, Dan, the worst thing is, could he fall behind Dean? Is there time for him to fall behind Dean Wysocki? Because that could be a couple of minutes in the pits there.
I mean, if he keeps hold of the aero and just focus on the mechanical, he might be able to get out.
Oh no, Robert Smith's got a stop go. Sam could be on the podium again.
He's got a massive amount of pressure from Brian Craig.
I tell you what, hey, the Jackal could end up on the podium at this race from the back of the grid and had an incident with Diego Flores. The way he's going, he's past Diz now. The Jackal is P7.
God, Diz, he's in the chat, lol. All he had to do is keep it on track. That's all he had to do, and he just runs wide ever so slightly. Richie Michelle has brought the gap down to less than 3 seconds.
Less than 3 seconds. He's nearly took 3 seconds out to Max. That's either Max taking his time going, I do not want to make an error, or he's had a moment while we've been watching the Sam Brian Craig fight.
Or he was enjoying that so much, he ended up was like, I want another fight now.
Force feedback disappeared, and the next thing I know, I'm airborne. That's what happened to his wheel then.
Sam and Brian Craig now are fighting for a podium.
For a third place. For a third place, yeah. And the Jackal could be inside the top 6. Like,
if Justin Winter gets a hurry up on, he could get possibly a podium.
I tell you what, right? John Gooday's had a crap day today, let's be fair, and Dean Wysocki. They're both going to gain so many places through the drivers that are stationary in the pits.
I mean, we got Robert Smith is now in pretty much for a pit stop, but Sam and Brian Craig into the final chicane. They've got to be sitting there thinking, oh my God, we're fighting for a third ear place now, boys.
Yeah.
Has Brian Craig had a podium this season?
I'm just looking now if Brian Craig has had a podium. He's had a best of a 4th place. So at the moment,
his best result.
At the moment,
he's going for it.
He's equaling his best. Brian Craig, he wants that first podium of the season. Gap out front's 2.5 seconds. Mark Tucker's within 4/10 of DJ Phil. That could be for 11th place in this race come the end of today. And this is why we go racing. PM Motorsport, the last 10 minutes, it's just exploded. Indeed, it has. Sparking Gamer vlog disappeared on stream 2, pal. I tell you what. Paul Williams went airborne, you said, Dan. Diz ended up on his side. Whoa, yeah, gutted for P. Oh, this would have been a podium for P. Williams. Oh. It makes your heart sink, doesn't it? It makes your heart sink. Brian Craig is all over Sam here for P3. Stop, go clear. Diz still in the pits. Mark Tucker on the back of DJ Phil. Let's just take a look at that fight down the order.
Absolute.
Is Diz is back out on track. Oh, he's coming out now.
Oh God!
I don't think Diz has got force feedback. What's happened?
Max is in the middle of this.
Oh dear!
Multiple guys. DJ Phil
and
Tucker, and Flores, and Max is trying to clear them, but he can't.
Flores is trying to lap the pair of them. DJ Phil's just turned across his teammate. Flores is trying to lap these two as well, and DJ Phil turns across his teammate there, and Max Zolder. Well, I don't know what to think of this. Dean didn't get Diz in the end. He's on the same lap as Diz, but didn't get Diz at the end of that. I am flabbergasted.
Richie Michelle now being held up by DJ Phil here, and yeah, DJ Phil's failing to get out of the way.
DJ Phil could
Oh,
be
he
on for a
nearly turned
qualifying.
in.
Yeah, he could be for a qualifying ban with the ignoring the blue flags. This has been chaos in this race. Sam's took off at the first chicane, leaders on the final lap, which means Sam has got 2 laps with Brian Craig to hang on for that podium.
Oh my God.
The adrenaline's kicked in. We all of a sudden don't feel too bad at the end of the evening, but my days, what an epic night this has been of racing.
This has been absolute chaos.
Like,
it's been brilliant to watch racing wise,
Yeah.
but this last like 10 minutes has just gone completely
like
down.
Pian said, it's exploded. It genuinely has. What a crazy, crazy night. I believe that tippy tapping is Dan getting the driver of the day up for you all to put your vote in for. John Gooday moves out the way of the next 2 cars coming through. He's just had a terrible night, is John Gooday. Gooday tonight.
So your options for driver of the day: Max Mulder, Richie Michelle, Sam, and Zolder. So get your votes in on who you think is going to be driver of the day.
I vote Zolder. I vote Zolder. It's been fantastic. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. Put, honourable shouts out as well to P. Williams.
Rewatch Mike, because you'll see.
Went for a wee. What the hell happened to Diz?
Max.
It's the track driver
Wins.
of the day. Oh, we've missed it. We've missed it. Max wins the race. Apologies. We've missed that. We're watching the Sam and Brian Craig fight, so apologies. We have missed Max Mulder, who is your champion and does cross the line. Well done to him. He will take that championship with that race win. Second place for Richie Michelle. Apologies to Max Mulder for missing that one. Diego Flores finished P8. DJ Phil finished down in 12th position. Mark Tucker finished in 11th. Robert Smith has crossed the line for 9th. This is the battle, though, for P3 on the circuit. Diz takes 13th place. Dennis Hansen, after his drive-through, all of a sudden gets the 7th.
Sam? Who's it going to be going into the final chicane? Sam has to just negotiate this corner. Craig's gone wide.
Yeah, that's going to be game
Sam's
over.
done it.
Sam is going to take another podium. So for Brian Craig, he still has to wait for that elusive podium. The Greasy Bandits are going to cross the line together with Justin Winter in 5th place. And all of a sudden, another contender for a shout-out for driver of the race, because he can't do the full day. Jackal started 18th with a qualifying ban, finishes 6th in that race. He's made some moves tonight. Dennis Hansen is going to come across for 7th. Max Mulder as well, by the way, fastest lap of the race. And Mike, you're asking how the hell the track can be driver of the day. Did you not watch race 2? Either way,
I think I might have to make another one, airborne of the day, and that's biggest air. That's go to Diz. I mean, we've seen Sati roll a Ginetta once before in the in a practice section, but somehow Diz is.
Abby Blackford says Diz for driver of the day. He drove really well. He drove fantastically tonight. Let's jump into the Discord chat. We'll be back in 2 moments where we just jump into the Discord call and we'll let the interviews commence from there. So back in a moment. We'll just unmute a second. What an absolutely chaotic night.
Green light. Give it all you got.
That's where.